Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects, and I'm just so happy to be here with you today. Several times a week, what I try and do is I try and pop on to answer any type of cloud computing career questions. Maybe you desire to be a cloud architect, maybe you desire to be a solutions architect, maybe you're working on AWS training and you don't know where to go, and that's why we're here. See, I've been working in this technology field for over 25 years. I've been an architect for almost 25 years, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or getting promoted in tech now for over 2 decades. And I got to tell you, after 20 some years being in technology, every day somebody calls me and tells me today, Mike, I got my first cloud architect job. Every day I hear it from one of my students, and let me tell you, it is the best feeling in the world when someone says, hey, Mike, I just got cloud hired. So that's why we're here. So if you're trying to build a cloud architect career or a solutions architect career, we wanted you to be able to know exactly how to do that. See, there's an opportunity cost of your time. The average cloud architect earns about $155,000 a year, and a good one can easily earn double that. But see, here's what happens. If you want to apply for one of these cloud architect jobs, and they're great jobs, I've had them for decades, different various architecture jobs, and you don't have the architecture skills, you can't get cloud hired. And after evaluating all of the certification training materials that are out there and interviewing thousands of people, we found so many really, really amazing, smart, wonderful people that have been working so hard to get that first cloud architect job or get that first solution architect job. And often we find that the people are studying everything other than architecture. So that's why we're here, and that's why we do these things. We are here to help you build your cloud computing career. You want to be a cloud architect, you want to be a big data architect, you want to be a network architect, an application architect. Whatever your goal is, we want to help use our 20 some years experience helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech to help you build your career. Now, this is an exciting topic for me. My first foray into cloud computing was actually into 1997. And Chris, you're on. And my first foray was in 1997 when I started working with the first cloud. It was called Frame Relay. And then the next cloud that I worked with was ATM. And then the next cloud I worked with was the BGP RFC 2547 VPN. And then right after that, I started working with VPLS. And then my team at Cisco, we were exploring cloud computing and making cloud computing recommendations to future cloud providers. So I've been in this cloud architect role now for 20 some years. So realistically speaking, here's the key. Any kind of questions that you have, we want to help you. Let's see if there's any questions from the crowd. Because we want to make sure that's why we do these things. So if you've got any kind of question, please feel free to ask it. In the meantime, let me know if you guys know some cool stuff that's going to going on this week. On Friday, we have some recruiters back coming in, and they will take any kind of questions and answers you have. You can submit your resumes to the recruiters. You can ask these recruiters about cloud architect jobs or solution architect jobs. If you're looking for a network engineer job or a network architect job, they're going to have them. So feel free to ask them. You can ask them questions about what hiring managers desire. Of course, you could ask me that. You could ask questions about interviewing. You can literally ask anything to build your cloud computing career. So, I mean, these are the kind of things that we can do. So, and that's why we have these things coming for you. Little let you know, in about a month's time, we're going to do a completely free Cisco Certified Network Associate exam. Why are we going to be doing a free CCNA bootcamp on our YouTube channel in the next couple of weeks or a month? Well, because when we get people that desire to learn cloud computing, it's as if people learn the name of the service and how to configure them. But what we do as cloud architects is as follows. We take things from the network and the data center and we move them to the cloud. So that knowledge of the network and the data center is just so absolutely critical for building your cloud architect career. In fact, I've got to tell you, I speak with a lot of cloud architects, or at least the people that desire to be cloud architects. And let me tell you, it really takes some time to make sure they can do what they need to. So let's take some questions from the audience. The first question is from Jonathan Brown. Can I tell you how difficult coding is to learn for cloud architecture? Jonathan Brown, that's a great question. I am an architect, and I have been an architect, Jonathan, now for 25 years. And I have never coded anything in my entire life. And because I'm an architect, I never will. So we architects are systems designers. And you know, Jonathan, it's kind of interesting. It used to be, until a couple of years ago, everybody knew what an architect was. Here's what happened. An architect was a hybrid between an executive and between an actual engineer. We architects were the system designers, and engineers built it. And then a couple of years ago, so we architects don't code. Also, Jonathan Brown, we architects don't configure. We architects, hands-on for us as an architect, Jonathan, is PowerPoint, it's Visio, it's Word. We go to the customer site, we ask the customer about their business, their legal, their technical, their regulatory requirement, all of those kinds of things. Then from there, we analyze the organization's business, and then we look for ways to improve the business. And how do we architects solve, Jonathan Brown, solve an organization's business challenges? Through technology. That's why we're architects. So someone like me as a cloud architect will go meet with that client, will ask the client, what are their business goals? I will then craft them an end-to-end solution. It will include applications, it will include networking, it will include security, it will include all the elements that are necessary to improve that organization's business, Jonathan Brown. And then when I am done, I will present it back to the customer. I will attempt to convince the customer they need our services. And when I am done attempting to convince the customer they need our services, and the customer says, yes, Mike, we want this architecture, I hand it over a team to cloud engineers to go build it. So cloud architects do not code, not now, not ever. Cloud architects do not configure. We should still know how to, but we don't configure. But coding this is a great career if you don't want to code. I've never coded. I've got friends that are senior principal distinguished architects at AWS, at Google, at Azure. None of them have any concept of how to coding or have never coded in their entire life. So not to give you a dissertation, architects are system designers. The engineers actually build it. Cloud engineers must be good at coding. Maintenance people of cloud SysOps people, or the SysOps people or the maintenance people must know how to code, and DevOps people must be great coders. So, for example, the answer is yes. So the next question comes from Devinish Singh. Hello, sir. I have an AWS Cloud Support Associate interview coming up. Can I help you with the topics that you should focus on in depth? So, Devinish Singh, the answer is absolutely. First, I am not a support professional, and I have never worked as a support professional in my entire life, but I know a lot about support, but I have not. And I will also tell you, Devinish Singh, the majority of my students have never worked as support professionals either, because I typically start people into more engineering and architecture roles as opposed to support roles. Having said that, support is a great place to start, and support is a great place to learn a lot of things, and support is a great place if you like to be hands-on technical. Do you know what else I like about support? In support, you're going to have to communicate with people, and you're going to communicate with people, for example, that honestly speaking, have different perspectives, which is really good. And you're going to communicate with people that are going to call you. They're going to be, hi, Devinish, my systems aren't working. And they're going to be cranky. And you're going to learn to be emotionally intelligent. And you're going to learn how to basically calm down the cranky people, get the job done, and solve their problems. That skill, that emotional intelligence that you will learn in this job, or hopefully learn in this job, will be wonderfully helpful in your career. So what can you do on the interview? Well, I'll give you a couple pointers. Most interviews start with this question: tell me about yourself. So make sure that you've got the tell me about yourself already ready. You also should have a why should I hire you answer ready. You also should know how to do the following. You should know how to answer a technical question you don't know. I've interviewed 5,000 people in my career, and you want to know something? Less than 50 haven't lied to me. Do you know how many people of those 5,000 people moved on to a second interview? Well, I'm going to tell you this. And guess what? Only people that ever got moved on to a second interview were the people that didn't lie to me. That means 4,950 of the 5,000 previous people were escorted out. So here's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you practice the answer to this question. I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that tech yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, I'm highly enthusiastic, and I learn quickly. And if this one particular skill were part of my job, I would do anything reasonable and unreasonable to learn it overnight. But I have to be honest, this is not my strength. But what is my strength is this, this, and this. And if you can, happy to discuss this with you in depth so you can figure out my competency. Why? If you lie, interview's over. We don't ask a question we don't know, so don't lie. 95% of the population lies. Stop that right there. 2, be overly nice. Mitra will get your question very quickly. And be nice and likable. When it's your first tech job, or you know what, or you're new to tech, the more likable you are, the more hireable you are. So again, this is really very, very, very important. You've got to be more likable. So now in an interview, what kind of things can they ask you? They're generally going to ask you questions related to how stuff works. How would you troubleshoot a situation? For example, let's say you want to troubleshoot a server. What's the process? Can you ping the server? No. Okay. Can you ping the server's gateway? No. Yes. No. Yes. Okay. You got a problem between the server and the router. No, you can't build the server's gateway. Do a trace route along the way. So when you're going to go on these interviews, they're going to ask you your troubleshooting methodology. So, be very prepared to talk about troubleshooting the network. Be very prepared about how you to troubleshoot storage. Be very prepared to discuss how you would troubleshoot, Linux instances that aren't doing what they're supposed to, or Windows be a related problem. Be very prepared to talk about the methodology. So that's realistically speaking what you could and should do that'll actually help you on your support interviews. But the most thing I can tell you, be likable. Have an answer to your strengths and weaknesses ahead of time. Have an answer to the why I should hire you. Have an answer to tell me about a difficult problem you solved with work and what you did about it. Have an answer to the common behavioral question. Tell me about a problem you had with someone and what you did about it. Be prepared to discuss your methodology. Do not give one-word answers. Give answers to the entire thing. So I hope I answered your question there, and I would happily do that. So the next question is a very simple question, and I'm going to mention right now before the question, that, and Chris will pop it up on there. We have a very special right now going on our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which takes people that have no background in technology and gets them hired as a cloud architect. For people that have no background in technology, it's approximately 500 hours in 6 to 8 months. For people that have a background in technology, it's about 4 months from the time we see them to the time we get them hired. Why am I answering this question? Because the next question comes from Kamalan 3. Is it possible to pass the AWS Professional Architect with no experience and no degree? Yes, Kamalan. I could literally teach you in 2 days how to pass that exam, and you could still know absolutely nothing and pass that exam. In fact, I'd like to tell you that I've interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and of them, without architecture training, none of them were actually horrible, and that's why I actually created this program. But it is extremely easy to go past the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional. All anybody would need to do would be to go to one of the exam dumps and take one of the certification courses, which teaches you the name of the service and how to configure it. Now, when you're done passing that exam, you will not have the skills to do anything, but you will easily be certified. Now, if you're asking me how to get hired versus certified, they're two separate things. Literally speaking, you can buy a copy of the exam and pass that exam inside of a week and still know nothing. And that's what we see with 10x AWS certified people. They get copies of the exam. There's lots of places where you can buy the exam, and you can buy an exam training course, which teaches you everything for the exam, but you won't be hireable in the end. So Kamalan 3, if you actually want to go get hired with no experience, you need far, far, far more than just a certification. You need a program like ours. And if you're not with us, don't worry, you can still do it, but it's going to be much more expensive without us, and it's going to take a lot more time. Here's what you do if you're not with us. First, you need to learn the network and the data center. So The books that I would buy to begin with would be Internet Routing Architectures by Bassam Halabi, Routing TCP/IP Volumes 1 and 2, and just TCP via Stevens. That's going to be an intro to some of the networking things, about $250, about 6,000 pages. It'll give you a little of it. We cover all this, obviously. In addition to that, because we want you to be strong and solid and hired, because we can easily get you hired, then we need you to learn NAT, VLANs, 802.1q tagging, 802.1x authentication, Q and Q tagging, Ethernet over MPLS, and all the VLAN trunking protocols, the link aggregation groups, ether channels, that kind of stuff. Then you need to learn DNS. After you learn DNS, you can learn servers and server virtualization. After you learn servers and server virtualization, you need to learn containers. After that, firewalls, IDS system proxy servers, those kind of things. You need to be very familiar with 3-tier web apps, the Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP stack. You've got to get used to VPNs as well as private line technologies. And then you need to learn end-to-end system design. Then you need to learn the business skills, the communication skills, the executive presence, emotional intelligence, how to communicate to CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, those sort of things. And then you have to learn executive writing. When I did my MBA, they told me to write a 30-page paper on something. They should have said, by the way, here's how you write a 2-page paper for the CEO that's got all the content in it. Here's what you do for the management team, and here's what you need for the technical team. So, Kamala 3, it is entirely possible to get hired without experience. My students do it all the time. Every day, at least 1 to 2 of my students that have never worked before gets their first cloud architect or solution architect job. No big deal. But you're going to need special training. If you're with us, you can do our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And because we're celebrating our 6 months into doing this at low cost compared to the $400 an hour training that we used to do for the previous 20 years, for which we were wildly successful, and we're equally successful with our low-cost training course, the one we're talking about now, either one could do it. But if you're on your own, I told you what to do. Now, if you're on your own and you're not with us, you still need to get some hands-on experience. Hands-on experience means knowledge of the network and the data center. Students in our program use our servers, and their labs are covered for free. But if you're not one of our students, you can still do these labs. Go buy yourselves a Xeon server, minimum of 16 cores, minimum 128 gigs of RAM, and minimum of 3 SSD drives in a RAID 0 configuration or an NVMe drive. On the server, build server virtualization, build containers, build firewalls, build VPN concentrators, build the LAMP stack, build Samba shares, build NFS shares, build firewalls, VPN concentrators, build and set up Active Directory. And then when you are done that, build the cloud. All my students do. All my students do all these labs on my servers. And if you're with us, it's covered. But this is what it's going to take to show employers you know the network and the data center, which means you know the cloud. And you don't know the cloud until you build a cloud. So these are the things that I strongly recommend. It's all included in our program, which is on special and it's low cost. But you can do it on your own. And now you know exactly what to do. Kamalan 3. How to train with us or own. But don't think the certification is going to do anything on its own. It's a part of the process, but no more than 10% of the process. The rest of that 90% is that network and the data center and the tech knowledge, the business acumen, communication skills. Chris, if you want to bring up the next question. Tide. Would you say you need a degree to become a cloud architect, such as okay, I'm trying to figure. Would you say you need a degree to help become a cloud architect? And then I see such as business system. You'd like to participate. I'm having a hard time reading the question and truly understanding it. If I'm trying to interpret it, Tide, if you're asking if a degree is necessary to be a cloud architect, the answer is no. Is business knowledge required? The answer is yes. Knowledge of the network is knowledge. Knowledge of the data center is required. Knowledge of all the components of end-to-end systems design is required. Python is not a skill you will use as a cloud architect. Every minute you spend learning Python is a minute you're not learning the cloud. Python is great if you want to be a junior cloud engineer or an implementation engineer, but cloud architects do not code. So if you want to become a cloud architect or focus on cloud architecture, don't learn Python. You will never code as an architect. Like I said, I've been an architect for 25 years. I've never coded. I've got friends that are distinguished architects, principal architects at every major cloud provider, and they've never coded. All the hiring managers that I know don't have their people code, and they certainly aren't writing scripts. This is a job for a cloud engineer or the maintenance people, which are called SysOps, or the DevOps people, which automate. So Tide, if you'd like to become a cloud architect, we can help you. Yes, you can do it without a degree. Yes, it's a little harder, but it's totally feasible. But you've got to focus on it. Now, studying Linux is good. You should understand the Linux architecture, the Linux kernel drivers, the system libraries that you need to know. Again, we don't configure as architects. So if you're learning too much of Linux administration, no, that's not what we do. Do I know Linux? The answer is yes. In fact, I've made a couple videos on the things that you need to learn for Linux as a cloud architect, and we'll release them. But it's good to know Linux. Just make sure what you're learning is the design and not the configuration. Architects design, engineers build and configure. So, Chris, you can bring up the next question. Victor William, you can actually get a coupon code. The coupon code CELEBRATE is posted for 25% off. It applies both one-time payments as well as people using the payment plan. Chris from my team said he could actually post it for you, and we will happily do so. Chris, if you want to bring up the next question, I don't think, okay, Daniel Mitra. Can I explain the differences between the Cloud Architect Experience Program and the Cloud Architect Development Program? Yes, Daniel. You never hear us discuss the Cloud Architect Experience Program. We have the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That is our only program. Now, we do have this thing called the Cloud Architect Experience Program that we don't talk about it. Here's what that actually is. I have been telling people for years that if you've got lots of experience in other industries and you wanted to just learn the cloud, like maybe pretend you were a network engineer and you knew the network, but you didn't know the data center. One of the things that we could do, for example, is this. We could have you do the experience program where you learn all the data center technologies. And then, assuming you were already a network architect and you already had the business acumen, communication skills, presentation skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence, and everything already, because you're already a working architect and you just wanted to learn the cloud, that's what the Cloud Architect Experience Program is. The reason we don't talk about that, it is not applicable for 99% of the population. It does not have any support. There are no live lectures. So the Cloud Architect Career Development Program is the right program to learn how to become a cloud architect. Now, if you're already working as a network architect or an application architect, for example, and you've been an architect for years, and then you're just looking for a bridge, then that Cloud Architect Experience Program is a great way to get hands-on experience as a cloud architect. But that is not for that. The Cloud Architect Career Development Program is how we build and train cloud architects. It's the program that has live training sessions twice per week where we actually teach people live architecture, and we do this twice a week for 3 hours. In this program, not only do the students attend live Zoom calls and we all interact and have fun designing systems together, we design systems with hundreds of thousands of employees and 40,000 remote locations and heavy BGP and thousands and hundreds of thousands of servers and containers. Our systems and our designs are huge, and they enable people to do things that very few of us architects have ever done in our lives, only the privileged few like me, and that's what we teach to our students. Real life architecture, and that only occurs in the career development program. So live training twice per week. In between classes, students in the career development program do homework assignments and projects and feedback for which they submit via Slack. We give them feedback. So this is a full live classroom experience, whereas the experience program is basically just labs versus an entire training program. So Daniel Mitra, it's really the Cloud Architect Career Development Program that we're really talking about here. What suggestions do I have for cloud architects learning to focus on the AI space? Well, same kind of concepts that we have for all cloud architects. We recommend cloud architects pick an area of focus. So, Daniel Mitra, if your focus is on AI, I think you still need a driver. First, you need to be a cloud architect and then figure what you're going to use with that machine learning. Are you a data scientist? In which case, that makes sense to do the machine learning. Do you have some expertise in that? Because you can become a great cloud architect and you can study big data and use the ML AI kind of thing to analyze or parse the big data. And that would be a cross between a data scientist and like a cloud big data architect. Or you could do other kind of things. But Daniel Mitra, I would say, don't just learn machine learning. I would almost say it's a waste of time to just learn machine learning. I would say if you want to do machine learning or do any technology, do it in the way that it's going to be transformational to the business. I can hire a $15 an hour scripting person in another country to write Python scripts that I can do learning on. I don't need an expensive employee for that. I can easily hire a programmer in another country that costs very little to me that can do a great job. What do I need, Daniel? Who am I willing to pay? I'm willing to pay someone that can be my cloud architect, that can design my end-to-end systems, that can make my business grow, that can make my business thrive, that can then look at my data, figure out how to make better recommendations with the data that I have, so we can make better inferences as an organization to make better decisions to be more profitable. So the person that can be that real architect, Daniel, the person that can really heavily talk about the business transformation through the ML AI that can be done in the cloud, that is your $500,000 employee. That is the one that solves problems. It is not the person that just picked up the tech and learned some PyTorch or TensorFlow or SageMaker type algorithms. So Daniel, huge career, lots of opportunities here. But you can take your architecture careers. You can be on the low end and just focus on the tech. You could be on the high end and focus on the transformation. As you focus more on the transformation and the making bigger changes to the business, making the business more profitable, more agile, all kinds of great things that we can do on the cloud, that is what makes your salary go up. And it doesn't just go up 10,000, it goes, or even 100,000. It could go up 200,000 or 300,000. So that's how you build yourselves these great cloud careers. Like I was an architect, I was able to retire as an architect at 34. It's a great career. I mean, truly an amazing career. How good it is based on what you choose to do. You can focus on the tech, or you can focus on helping an organization transform. If you focus on helping an organization transform, you'll get hired far faster, you'll get promoted far faster, you'll get paid more, because organizations, they're not techs like us. They don't love tech. They buy tech to solve business problems. I buy tech because it's cool. I've got 9, I'm not joking, 9 24-core servers that each have 120 gigs RAM as my hobby cloud sitting around the house. It's just my hobby cloud for fun. Got my own OpenStack Ansible cloud running around the house for fun. But, I'm a techie. I've got a 32-core workstation that I'm using right now to stream from you. That's got, a half a terabyte of RAM, and I'm using a 6K camera to stream, which is ridiculous. But, it's what I like. I love tech. So I know a lot of you guys love tech, and I love it too. But remember, businesses don't buy tech because they like it. They buy tech to make their business better. So if you want to do any of these things beyond the machine learning, beyond the AI space, you want to have a great career, be the driver of the business transformation, and you will literally be getting 3 to 5 awesome job offers every day, just like I do, and without even looking for them. So I hope I answered your question there and gave you some career guidance along the way. Chris, if you'd like to bring up, okay. Hi, Mike. I've been following your videos and they're absolutely great. Thank you so much. Your question is, you have the GCP Professional Cloud Architect exam in about 2 hours. Can I give you any last minute tips and suggestions? So, Mr. Gutam, here's what I'm going to tell you. I will tell you that Google Professional Cloud Architect exam was probably the best one of all the exams that I've taken in the cloud. Unlike the AWS exams, where the hardest challenge is reading the question and going through all the wordiness, in the Google exam that you're going to take in 2 hours, they actually ask you real questions where they present an architecture and a case study, and you actually have to think about it and design it. So when you take these questions, what I would say is, because we only have 2 hours, let's focus on the things we can control. So, for example, did you know that when you're calm, we're using the prefrontal cortex, or the thinking, logical, reasoning part of our brain? This is good. This is where we're smart. Did you know that when we get stressed, the prefrontal cortex shuts down and the amygdala kicks in, which means we get stupid? So, perfect example is, you're sitting here, you're calm, you're relaxed, you solved a big engineering architecture problem because you're smart. And then you get stressed and somebody's, maybe your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your children say something to you and you snap at them and say something really horrible, offensive, and you don't even know why. That's the amygdala. So if you've got the ability to relax before the exam, I would say to do that. I would say don't read anything 30 minutes for the exam. I would say make sure you're well fed. I would say make sure you're hydrated. I would say get to the exam 30 minutes before, because trust me, you could run into tech stuff and you don't want to be stressed. I would also say, if you get stressed, there's a type of breathing that actually comes from India. It's called pranayama, but it's also used by Navy SEALs when they have big combat things to deal with. It's also being taught to law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, and it's called box breathing. And why am I talking about box breathing? I'm talking about being calm. So we can keep your prefrontal cortex engaged versus the amygdala. So box breathing is basically what people do on the way to combat, or the Olympians are using it as well. Basically, they will inhale hold the counting of 4. So inhale. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll hold our breath for the count of 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll hold our breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll inhale for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. We'll hold our breath for 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll exhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll hold for a count of 1, 3, 4, 2. It's like a box. Inhale slow, hold slow, exhale slow, hold slow. 5-second count or 4-second count for each one, 4 to 5 cycles of that, going around and around. You'll feel calmer. If you're calmer, your prefrontal cortex will come in, and then all that you know will be available for you to access. So keep your brain healthy, make sure you're well fed, make sure you're well hydrated, go take that exam, go crush that exam, and then tell us you passed the exam afterwards. I will tell you it's a good exam. I will tell you it's a relatively straightforward exam. I have students that pass it every day. I will tell you, I took the exam. It was about 45 minutes of reading the questions to answer them. They are very well written questions. They are very straightforward questions, and I wish you good luck. And I think it's a great exam you're doing, and I'm thrilled for you to be doing it. So good luck on this exam. I really believe it's a good one. Valentine. Okay, here's a good question for me. CCNA versus Comptia N for understanding. I strongly recommend never doing any Comptia certs whatsoever. Cisco certifications actually teach you the networking. I will tell you that it is extremely challenging in my background to get anybody hired with a Comptia certification. I mean, extremely. At least in the US, I think the largest employer of Comptia certifications is the retail store Best Buy. They hire the A+ and Net+ people to be part of the geek squad that repairs people's customers' computers. So CCNA is actually introduction to the routers that people actually use to connect to the network, and it is a much stronger certification. So I don't recommend doing the A+. If you're looking for a basic computer certification, I would get a Red Hat Linux one for computing. I would do a CCNA or a CCNP for networking. And regarding security, again, I would skip that Security Plus, and I would go to like a CCSP, a CISSP, or a CEH Master. There's no reason you need to start with these lower certifications. It's going to take just as much time and effort and money to do the lower ones as it'll do the higher ones. But the higher ones will get you interviews for jobs that will pay you 2 to 3 times more than those Comptia certifications. So strongly recommend against getting any Comptia certifications. I always, when my students have them, I make them, even if my student had a Net+, I'd still make them get a CCNA because it's not enough. So even when my students have these Comptia certifications, I make them redo the other ones. So skip the Comptia ones. That's my recommendation. It's based on my opinion, based upon where I know Comptia people work versus where the Cisco people work. So hope I answered your question there, Valentine. Tide, you're 18. Can you give you a timeline to be a cloud architect? Well, it all depends on what you choose to do. Tide, I've got some 18-year-olds that spend 8 months with me and go become cloud architects. Now, at 18, you got a couple things working against you. The first thing is no one takes you seriously because of your age. So when you are young, and I've got lots of times young people. In fact, I just hired a young cloud architect in their 20s to be part of my team because he's awesome. He did not have experience, but his level of technical competency is extraordinary. And you know what? That's what it takes. So you've got 2 options in your case. Option 1, you do a 4-year degree in business or computer science. It doesn't matter what you study. They're not going to teach you anything related to the actual job anyway. So for that reason, business might be something good. You might learn a little bit about ROI modeling. You might learn a little communication skills a lot. But let's say you did school. So pick a degree. It doesn't matter. I would say business would be a good one because it's good and generic. You could do computer science, but in computer science, all they're going to do is teach you to code. So let's say you do your bachelor's degree. While you're getting your bachelor's degree, you do the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, you do the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, you become a CCNP and learn the network, you learn some security. Now you learn the data center. Then after you learn the data center, you start learning how to give speeches and presentations. Then you start learning what CEOs care about. Then you learn how to read financial statements. Then you learn how to do the calculations of an expected value of an opportunity. Then you learn how to present like an executive, how to write like an executive, and how to design. And then when you're done that, you learn interviewing skills, because it's a special way to interview for these jobs. Remember, they're not tech careers, they're executive careers mixed in with tech. So because of that, they've got a very, very special interview, which is not like a regular technical interview. Be an engineer, go interview like an engineer for an architect position, and you'll get sent home. So these are those kind of skills. And of course, we could work with you. But I got to tell you, even if we worked with you at 18, it's going to take us a minimum of 8 months to get you a cloud architect job. Minimum. Because we'd have to teach you the business skills, the communication skills, the development, the design skills, the ROI modeling skills, the communication skills. And at 18, it's tough. I've done it at 18. I've had people that had huge careers by the time they were 20 and 21. And I've done it, but it took them, they worked with us at 18. They picked their first job. Maybe it would be like a cloud engineer job as the first one, or a junior solution architect job. They would do a solution architect job for a year. Then they can move into a cloud architect role for 2-3 years. Then after that, we can move them into an enterprise architect role. But that's the process. First, it's learning the network and the data center. If you don't know the network and the data center, you don't know the cloud. So first, learn the network and the data center. Then learn the cloud. The cloud is a virtual network and a data center. And all we do as architects is take the stuff from the real network and the data center and move it to the cloud, which is a virtual network and a data center. That's why it's impossible to be a cloud architect without knowing the network and the data center. And without all these other skills, we're just talking about engineering. So, Todd, I've given you how to do it, both with us, which is the fastest and cheapest, but also on your own. And I'd be thrilled to give you any more questions or answer any more questions you desire in any more depth. Chris, please feel free to bring up the next one. Chenton, how you're currently working as an IT support engineer at Amazon. Good. You've got basic knowledge of the network, Linux and Windows servers, which is good for me, except for you lack degrees in communication skills. Well, Chenton, there's two sets of knowledge. And I'm going to ask you, would you know how to load share across redundant connections without getting out of order packets? That's kind of networking knowledge that I'm talking about. I'm talking about network actual design as opposed to network communication. So if you're familiar with the BGP algorithm, prefer the path with the largest weight, prefer the path with the largest local preference, short SAS path, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you can design that in your head and traffic engineer in your head, that's the technical skills that you're looking for. Next, how do you design the networking? Where are the routers and switches? What's the BGP look like? What does the IP addressing architecture look like? Again, that is very different than support. Support is break fix. This is actual design. Linux servers, this would be the design of your servers. It's pretty common for me to have organizations that may have 10,000 servers with 128 cores and 4 terabytes of RAM. And, it's the architecture of how we optimize these. That could be nothing for some companies. Work with companies that have thousands of GPUs doing things. So, these are the things that end-to-end system design. You could still be an architect, but, first you'd have to have the design skills. And then after that, we'd have to teach you the communication skills. You do that, you can move into architecture. You're already AWS. It's pretty easy to do. For example, I had a network engineer come with me a few weeks ago. Within 3 weeks, he was hired as a senior cloud architect with AWS. Now, that is not typical. Typical, it takes me 16 weeks for someone in tech, or basically 6 to 8 months for someone not. But this person knew the network. He had good, strong BGP knowledge. So it was pretty easy for me to take this person, Joe, teach him some BGP knowledge, teach him some communication skills, and a couple weeks later, he was hired. But really, what we're really talking about here is knowledge of the network and the data center. And Chenton, if you've done network design, you have it. If you've designed an environment with 40,000 subnets, you have it. If you can design an organization with 1,000 VPCs, which is nothing at 1,000 VPCs, then you have it. So this is kind of the things that we're talking about. And my advice would be, if you wanted to be an architect, just learn the business skills, learn the communication skills, get the training, and go be an architect. You don't need the degree. Or if you want to delve deeper into the engineering you're already doing, you've got multiple options. You could upgrade and become a cloud engineer. Lots of opportunity going from support to cloud engineering. But cloud engineering has its limits. What I mean by limits, there's only so far you can go. The key with engineering is your career maxes out pretty early in your career. And the reason is there's just, once you get to a certain level of technical competency, where are you going to go? So architecture careers offer much more career potential, much higher salaries, and more advancement. And here's the reason why. It's easier to train a really great engineer. It's hard, and we need them, but it's easier to train a really great engineer than it is to have the really great engineer have the communication skills and the leadership skills and the business skills and the emotional intelligence and their presentation skills. And when you do that, you start moving into that unicorn status. And that's why these architecture jobs are so great. That's why there's a good 100,000 of them. We can't even fill our hire right now because it's so rare to find that technical professional with all those communication skills. So do any job you want. Chin, I don't care about your degree. It doesn't matter. My first master's degree is in nursing and my second's in business. I don't have any degrees in tech. And I was a lead architect within 6 months of my first tech job, literally speaking. In fact, I went from practicing internal medicine as a nurse practitioner to lead architect at the world's largest internet service provider within 6 months of the time I started to desire to work in tech. And you can do it too. So all you really need to focus on is the communication skills, the network, the data center skills, and the design and the architecture skills. That would be what I would do. Or if you like what you're doing in engineering, still do the same things. But I caution any engineer too, if you don't focus on communication skills, executive presence, leadership, ROI modeling, your career will end in a first-line engineering. And even those other cool engineering things, the distinguished engineers, the principal engineers, the engineering managers, all of those careers all require that business acumen and communication skills as well. Not as much as the architect, but they still need. So don't neglect them. Your technology career will really thank you. I promise you it'll make such a big difference in your career. Now listen, can you go from AWS restart cloud practitioner cert and then get a solutions architect professional? Absolutely. I have my students do it all the time. We work so hard to tell students never to do the AWS cloud practitioner certification. And here's the reason we tell people never to do that. We are business executives because we're architects. As architects, we do an ROI model of everything. There are 0 jobs available with the cloud practitioner. I mean, 0. And the cloud practitioner is almost the same exam as the Certified Solution Architect Associate. So we start everybody with the Certified Solution Architect Associate. But if you've got the cloud practitioner and you've done it from the AWS restart, your cloud practitioner knowledge is probably 10 times better than if you took one of the AWS certification courses out there for the Solution Architect Associate. So go straight to that Certified Solutions Architect Professional, pass that exam. My students that basically took the cloud practitioner before they came to us, we send them straight to the Certified Solution Architect Professional. It's no big deal. They pass the exam, and that knocks out 10% of what's necessary to get them to their ultimate destination. So easily take that Certified Solutions Architect Professional exam. These are not big, challenging exams compared to like CCIEs or CEH Masters. Give yourself just a little bit of time. Read our book. It's cheap. Watch our free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional thing. Take our AWS Certified Solution Architect Live Bootcamp, which almost went as deep as the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Take Andrew Brown's AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate training. And if he's got a professional one, take it. Andrew Brown's certification from freecodecamp.org is far better than those other paid certification programs. Our training is much more about getting people cloud hired than cloud certified. So if you're going to combine them, combine ours, which is more related to getting hired, along with Andrew Brown's, which is very nicely precision done for the certification. Get a practice exam, go pass that exam, knock it out, and you'll have it easily. So yes, go ahead and do it. Go straight to the Certified Solutions Architect Professional. Your career will thank you. Chris, please feel free to bring in the next one. Okay, the next question is Kamal 3. How long does it take to finish your program if you're dedicated full-time and the goal is to get a job in architecture? It depends on your background. So on average, for people with a tech background, it takes 16 weeks to be hired once they start our program. For people without a tech background, it typically takes 6 to 8 months. And why does it take 6 to 8 months? Because we've got a lot to cover. Look, our program is not a 20-hour certified solution architect professional program. For people that are new, it's 500 hours. So 25 times more what others would consider appropriate training. And we will get you hired. That's not the problem. And our job is done when you're hired. So to be fair, Kamalan, I had one gentleman, his name was Richard. He was a Nigerian student. He was really amazing. He came to my program, and I literally think he stayed up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He was with me for 3 weeks with no background in tech, and he got hired by AWS. But that's really not normal. That's not average. So I would say on average, people that have a tech background, it takes about 16 weeks. And about people that we get that have no tech background like me, like maybe I was a nurse practitioner, or maybe someone was in business, or someone was an engineer, like an oil and gas engineer, or something that's totally unrelated, but still related because we're still thinking about end-to-end solutions and design, all those things. We're talking about 8 months for no tech background, and 4 months for people with a tech background. People can get through sooner if they do more work. How fast can you get through 500 hours and retain it? It's up to you. You put in 100 hours a week in studying, you could do that potentially in 5 weeks. I don't think you can remember it all in 5 weeks. But if you put in 30 hours a week in 4 months, you probably have the skills, assuming you weren't there. If you had a tech background and you do 15 hours a week, 4 months is no big deal to get someone hired. So it's really based upon where your goal is and where your starting point is. But in this particular case, getting you to be cloud architect hired is very easy. We do it absolutely every single day. And we have a special thing going on right now because we're celebrating the fact that we went, what's the word that I'm looking for? We went from $400 an hour coaching to me basically spending about $50,000 on really cool tech gear, so we could produce the kind of training that we do to make sure that we can give a classroom-like experience, have live classes, have people actually in class communicate, share work, collaborate, build their connections with hundreds of recruiters, connections with so many hiring managers, and connections with so many students all over the world. I am learning to use YouTube, and my YouTube coaches asked me to tell you to hit that like button if you're here. If you're not a subscriber, if you could subscribe to our channel, if you could tell others about our channel, and of course, because we released our AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate course 6 months ago, and we have had well over 100,000 people take our free training programs since we launched that free training, and we're super excited about it. We actually have until the end of the week, 25% off coupon to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Chris from my team will post a link to that and the coupon in the chat box. And then Chris, while we're at it, if you want to bring up the next question. Daniel Mitra, any trends that I'm currently seeing in the Canadian market? Yes, absolutely. So Canada is pretty interesting. I'm seeing a tremendous number of jobs from Canada. I mean, even remote access. So typically speaking, we Americans would never think to work in Canada because we typically have a stronger dollar. And in America, we typically have a very strong economy, at least traditionally speaking. I got to tell you, I get Canadian job offers every single day. And they want me to work remotely, which is even cooler. So in Canada, I see the following. I see a tremendous amount of cloud jobs. Now in Canada, I'm seeing a lot more Google ones, and they're paying a lot. So the Google jobs, the ones that I'm seeing in Canada, typically pay twice as much as the Amazon jobs. And, the reality is, I say learn the cloud, not learn the cloud provider. And, I teach my students can work on any cloud. But what I'd say is you've got to be agile as a cloud architect, in that it was going to be AWS. They were the biggie. AWS is still the biggie, but it's looked like the biggie is now shifting to Azure. Azure did more revenue than AWS, And it looks like Azure is now moving into the dominant market player. Now, there were some business decisions that AWS made last year that caused a big shift to Azure. So right now, it looks like Azure is going to be the market leader 6 months from now. Now, that doesn't mean that Azure doesn't make a mistake and AWS doesn't become the new leader again. Or Azure could make a mistake and everybody could pivot to Google. Don't count out a big player like a Google or an Oracle. There are a lot of cool big players out there. So I'm saying, stay agile. Just because what we're seeing in Canada is Google, it's not good enough to plan for. Stay agile, learn the cloud, learn all about virtual machines. And that way, if it's a compute engine virtual machine on Google, if it's an EC2 instance on AWS, if it's a virtual machine on Azure, it doesn't matter to you because you're still a cloud architect. Same thing, you need a NoSQL database. Guess what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Apache Cassandra if it's mostly write. And I'm thinking if it's read write, I'm going to use MongoDB because I need a NoSQL database. Why? Those two are going to work on AWS, they're going to work on Azure, and they're going to work on Google. Now, let's say by comparison, I decided to take a step back and go serverless, and I decide to use DynamoDB. What happens when I want to leave AWS? It's sharp. Or what am I going to use? DynamoDB with AWS, which is proprietary, and another proprietary database on Azure, and another proprietary database on GCP? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use an industry standard. So what I'd say, if you want to see what's going on in Canada and America, stay agile, my friend. Learn the tech, learn the cloud, become great at the tech and the cloud, and don't really worry about any cloud providers. Look at it like the architect. See, here's the thing as an architect, I design a system. I design the system based upon things. Whether it's cloud, whether it's a building. Let's pretend it's cloud. So let's say I'm in Florida. I am in Florida. Let's say I'm going to design a house. What do I have to design? Well, first I have to say that in Florida, we get hurricanes. So the house has to be able to withstand 180 mile an hour or basically 300 kilometer an hour winds. Yes, we have that. So what kind of building materials are strong enough for that? Well, they're concrete, they're brick, they're steel. Wood's just not going to work. So I know I need that. Now, if the house was to be a certain height, I know that I need a certain number of strength from swing and things like that. So the building architect designs the building, writes it up, and draws it up. Then the building architect goes to the structural engineer, and the structural engineer says, yes, this is going to work. These are the materials. By the way, same process as a cloud architect. We design it. We go to some really smart engineers. They confirm, yes, Mike, it's going to work. Now, from there, the architect takes the construction crew and says, go buy the stuff. Now, whether you buy the stuff for Home Depot or Lowe's or the hardware store, who cares? It doesn't matter. See, the architect designed the building. Where you buy your bricks and steel from is irrelevant. Do you know what? To a cloud architect, where you buy your virtual machine from is irrelevant. So buy it from the Google store, buy it from the Azure store, buy it from the AWS store. The cloud is a commodity. There's nothing special about the cloud. It's just a data center that's virtualized. That's it. So you want to be prepared for the Canadian market? Right now, let's Google. Next week, it could be Oracle. The week after that, it could be Azure. The week after that, it's going to be multi-clouds everywhere. So you want to be prepared for the current market. What am I seeing? I'm seeing ever since AWS made a decision to kick somebody out of their data center 6 months ago, and that company instantly went out of business, for which AWS made that decision. Was it a good decision, bad decision? I don't know. I'm not the CEO of AWS. I don't even care. But I do know that ever since then, multi-cloud has been the thing. So the trends that we're seeing is multi-cloud. There's no such thing as single cloud, which basically means the job of the solution architect is over. The job of the cloud architect is beginning. A solution architect only knows one cloud. A cloud architect knows how to work with all of them. In today's world, there's no such thing as a single cloud, which means solution architect positions are dying, and they're going to all be replaced by cloud architect positions. It's the same job, just not just AWS, not just Azure, not just GCP, all of them, including the Nutanix clouds, the Oracle clouds, the OpenStack, Ansible, IBM clouds, and there's lots of cloud people running on really great clouds. American Airlines, for example, runs on the IBM cloud, the OpenStack Ansible cloud, and every one of my students builds an OpenStack Ansible cloud. How can you be a cloud architect if you don't know how to build a cloud? You should be able to know how to, you have to know everything, how AWS runs, and you should be able to build AWS. And I don't mean your VPC. I mean, you should be able to recreate AWS if you're an honest to goodness, legitimate, real cloud architect. Every one of my students can. They all build a cloud. So that's how the trends that I'm seeing, multi-cloud everywhere, and improved networking and improved software-defined networking and much more traffic engineering. Chris, so happy to answer any more questions. Chris, if you want to bring up the next question that's come in? Millicent, after you pass your exams with no experience or degree, can you still get a six-figure job? If you do architect training, if all you do is certified solution architect training, the answer is absolutely not. You won't have the skills. Now, if you actually get the skills, which means you learn the network and the data center first, and then after that, you learn how to design the systems end to end, and you learn how to communicate the systems end to end, and you learn how to present the systems end to end. And then you can do an ROI model to the customer of how the systems work. You will get hired so fast your head will spin. But if all you do, with or without experience, because you'll get the experience by building clouds, by setting up server virtualization, doing containers, if you do all these things, yes, you can get hired. If all you do is get certified, you can get all 10x AWS certifications and nobody can hire you because the certification is the name of the service and how to configure it. The architect is how to design. So if all day long what you do is learn how to run and your actual job is driving, becoming an expert runner isn't going to make you good at it. So these certification courses are really good for cloud engineers who can figure stuff. But for the cloud architect, they have absolutely zero to do with what we do. I mean, literally speaking, zero. The only thing that these certifications do is when I design an architecture, I say I use a virtual machine. And now I remember it's called EC2. Now, if I didn't have the certification, I would go to the AWS website and look up AWS virtual machine and EC2 would pop in. I'd still be able to design it with no knowledge of it because I know the cloud. So yes, you can still get hired, but the certified solution architect professional is not training. It's just a certification. So yes, you can do it, but learn the network, learn the data center, learn design, learn presentation skills, business acumen, emotional intelligence, executive presence, and ROI modeling, and you will get hired with or without experience. It won't matter at that point. Just make sure you have that. And, you know, I feel bad when I say these things, but I created this program because I interviewed 1,000 people that have passed the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. I asked them how to design things, how they worked. Nobody knew. So that's why we created our program. Look, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's very easy for me to, normally speaking, speak with a person, do a $400 an hour consult, tell them exactly what to learn, meet up with them 2 weeks later, check in what they learned, they got it, give them a new set of lessons. I've done this for years and it worked great. But when I saw the training that was out there for this, when I saw that, and this is how bad it was, I literally was going to teach a friend's kid. And I bought him the top 3 best-selling courses that all came from some continent in the South Pacific. And the kid called me 2 days later and said, Mike, I'm doing the work that you bought me. I built an S3 bucket and I set up an EC2 instance, but what is it? I said, what do you mean an EC2 instance? What is it? And he said, a compute instance. I said, what's a compute instance? He said, a compute instance. I said, come on, what's a compute instance? And the person said, I don't know. And you know what? I've literally asked 500 AWS certified people and they didn't know what a compute instance was either. And then I've asked hundreds of AWS certified people, what is the difference between a virtual machine and container? And they can't do it. If I ask the difference between object storage and block storage, what it is, how they work, and why organizations use it, the only answer I get is S3 or EBS. S3 or EBS is not how you design it. You need to know how all of it works. So I'm not being negative on certification. I love certification. Certification helps you get a job interview, which is great. So I have my people get certifications just to get interviews because I can't get them hired without the interview. It's just that the certification's effectiveness stops at the interview. It doesn't teach the job. So you need it because we got to get you interviewed, but we need to give you actual functional, usable knowledge to get hired. That's the difference between hired versus certified. And Mac Marithi, it's so good to hear from you. What qualifications do you recommend to learn the business skills? P.S. Mike, you're the best. So Marithi, there's a couple ways you could do it. In our program, we actually teach it. If you are not part of our program, the first thing that I would do would be to learn how to read a financial statement. Top line is revenue, learn things like operating income and net operating income and EBITDA and things like that. Learn how to read a financial statement. Top 1 for business acumen. Top 2, you must learn how to calculate expected value of an opportunity, because you're going to need that in your ROI modeling. Then you need to learn ROI modeling. Next, these are the things that you need to learn. So now, you would get a lot of these in an MBA program, but you could also learn these on your own. Now, those are, realistically speaking, part of the business skills. Now, what are the other half of the business skills, Marithi? So part of it is knowing the industry that you're in. For example, if I was going to go design systems for healthcare, which I've done a lot of in my career, it would be really good if I knew the healthcare industry, which I do. What do doctors do? I know that. What do nurses do? I know that. What do the pharmacists do? I know that. What do the physical therapists do? I know that. Now, how do people work, Marithi? That is also critical. So let's look at it this way. If you are basically going to work and design something for someone, you have to know what they actually do. So, for example, I've seen industries destroyed by technology solutions because the architect didn't actually understand the business. So, for example, let's pretend that you've got a person that doesn't know the workflow of healthcare people. And I've seen this. So you've got some engineers, they get together, they make an electronic health record, and they've never asked the doctors or nurses what they do. So the next thing you realize, this hospital buys an electronic health record, and now we medical people used to spend 15 minutes per approximately with each patient. And on these patients, we would spend 12 minutes, asking questions, examining them, looking at them. And now these new fancy electronic health records got here. And they were so cumbersome, we no longer had any time to spend with our patients. In fact, our 15-minute visit turned into 12 minutes arguing with the computer and dealing with computer stuff that didn't work, and 3 minutes evaluating the patients. Now, when this occurred, medical errors went from the 5th leading cause of death in the US to the 3rd leading cause of death. And you know what we did? We added the tech. Previously, we had paper records. Now we added the tech, and we make twice as many errors, and more people are dying. Why did digital transformation mess us up? Because no one asked how we worked. No one saw the workflow. I go into a patient, I ask some questions, I take a little bit of notes as I'm going on so I don't forget. I then go into my brain and I start thinking of the knowledge I have and the training that I have, and then I make a diagnosis and write a plan. The tech didn't allow that. The tech was already making recommendations on what you should do before you even saw the patient. The tech actually broke our workflow. The tech was so full of warning us with things that we knew that were errors or potential errors that, you know what happened? We started ignoring all errors, and then we started making more mistakes. We went from being able to write morphine sulfate 2 milligrams to clicking, when you mean to type 2 milligrams, you type 20 and then someone dies because it's too much. So what I'd say, most importantly, Marithi, is understanding the business that you're working with. If you're in music, it's got a process and a way to work. If you're in art, there's a process. Know that business, know every component of the business that you're working with, and then figure out how to solve those problems using technology. And you know what? We've got lots of really cool and elegant technology solutions to go solve those things. And I got to tell you, it is really great. So, Mr. Mac over there in England, I'm always super happy to share with you. You've got a little bit more that's good, but I recommend it start. The beginning, the first thing I would say is learn how to read a financial statement. You can find lots of information. Then I would look up how to create the expected value of an opportunity. Then after that, I would look up CXO relevancy, and there's a lot to be said for what does the CEO care about versus the CIO versus the CFO versus the CTO. And Marithi, if you go to any good company like a Cisco or an AWS and you're working there, they're going to expect you to know this. And in many cases, once you reach the upper level architecture jobs, they're literally going to pay to send you for training on this. I personally have been through about $250,000 of soft skills, communication skills, and executive presence training. So realistically speaking, that's where we could take it. So while we're going through, we're dealing with a little bit of technical challenges on our end. We're going to go to the next question. The next question is from Tyrone. Tyrone, I think you're my buddy in South Africa who comes to all these things. You've got 6 months full time. Can you do it? The answer is yes. Tyrone, you've already attended a tremendous amount of my training as is, albeit a lot of the free things. You've been participating in so much. With what you've got right now, a couple of months from now, 6 months from now, yes, it should be pretty easy to get you hired. And actually, Tyrone, where you're actually living over there in South Africa, it appears that there is a tremendous amount of tech investment. In fact, I am really lucky enough to communicate with wonderful, wonderful skilled people all over the world. And I got to tell you, Tyrone, I am seeing more cloud computing in South Africa, Nigeria, and Cameroon than I can possibly even understand. I have 100 Nigerian students, over 50 Cameroonian students. And don't get me wrong, I've got students all over the world, but the calls that I'm getting from South Africa makes me think there's a lot more coming up. You used to have you had Dimension Data, which is down there, which is now NTT Data. AWS is coming, huge stuff going. So yes, Tyrone, 6 months in our program, absolutely could definitely get you hired. With your background, I know your background easily. Okay, Chris, if your tech's up and running, well, first, like Derek Houston said, Derek is one of my students. Derek makes me proud every day. Derek actually is, like he says, focus on the communication skills. I strongly recommend that. Mohammed, can I please share in brief what milestones are there to become a cloud architect? What is the first milestone? The first milestone, Mohammed, is understanding that you need to know the network and the data center. So I would say the first milestone, if you're looking for a specific step, would be when you finally know how the network works. And what I mean by that is if you know end-to-end IP addressing and you truly know the BGP protocol and how to, not how to configure it, but how to architect it, and you truly understand connections and direct connections and private lines and VPN technologies and VLANs and interior gateway protocols and things like that, NAT and all the layer 2 things like spanning tree, I would say that is number 1. Knock out the network. Number 2, knock out the data center. Server virtualization containers, storage, load balancers, that next. I would say next thing after that is the security stuff you got to knock out. You need to understand firewalls, IDS, IPS systems. You need to understand VPN concentrators and access control lists and host-based firewalls and anti-malware protection. I'd say that's your next phase. So underlying technology, network, data center, security. Once you understand that, then it's pretty easy. By this, pretty easy. What I mean by is if you understand this and you understand the work in the data center, now get your cloud training. What is cloud training? It's really just the virtualized services of the network and the data center. So I would say, here's your certification component. Here's where you knock out the certified solution architect professional. That's kind of there. And then we have the getting ready to be hired training phase. Now, this is where your communication skills come into play, your how do you ask the right questions, your executive presence or gravitas, your emotional intelligence, your presentation skills, you're building your resume, your interview skills, your salary negotiations. So those are the steps. Note, long before we got to the cloud, we did network, data center, and security because that is the cloud. So those are the phases of getting hired. We break it down. Those are the steps that we teach people. It is not just a tech job. I don't know why people think architecture is such a tech job. Architecture is a very high-level tech job because we do the design, but we have so much business requirements for our career. This is a business job. When I first went from engineer to architecture, I was expecting to be a senior engineer. I stopped configuring routers and switches because architects don't touch anything other than PowerPoint or Word. So just kind of pay attention to those things. So business, 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 network, data center, and security. That's the skill. Chris, please feel free to bring up the next one. Alad, you're currently working as a network design engineer. That means an architect. Great. For a tier 1 ISP. Fantastic. You have your CCNA. Well, okay. I'm assuming if you're actually doing design, you have CCIE knowledge, not CCNA knowledge. Could you then enroll for the Cloud Experience program offered by GoCloud Architects? The answer is yes. You would actually benefit from that program, provided you actually are used to selling products and selling services. You would actually do well with the Cloud Architect Experience program. It's really designed for an architect to transition to another architect. It would be a perfect program for you because now you've got all this network knowledge. This would be a chance to play with the Active Directories and build your own clouds and really get that hands-on architect experience, assuming your network knowledge is good and your designer's knowledge. Now, when you're telling me you're a network design engineer, I'm assuming you understand how to design SDN things. I'm assuming you know how to design end-to-end IP systems. I'm assuming you understand BGP and BGP policy manipulation and traffic engineering and all that. If you do that, which I would assume you do, that Cloud Architect Experience program for you is absolutely perfect. And if you ever wanted more, you could do that and then upgrade. We always allow our students to upgrade, but you would do well with that. So yes, you could benefit a lot from that. You would learn the network and the data center, which is the cloud. You would actually learn the cloud services, and you would also learn end-to-end systems architecture. What we do in the experience program is we take about 10 of the architecture classes from the career development program, and we moved them all over. And we took our AWS and cloud training, and we also copied that over. So that's what the experience program is. So you would learn more of the data center technologies there. You would learn more of the cloud technologies there, and you would learn how to do cloud architecture work in there for your particular use case, but not for others. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Adiyemi Thomas, you're coming from a no-tech background. Don't worry, you're a banker. Great background, actually. What are the prospects as you embark on a career switch to tech using cloud as a launchpad? Well, you've got great prospects because you're already working in banking. This is a huge help. Banking is consultative. Mr. or Mrs. Customer, what are you looking to achieve? What are your risk tolerances? Okay, very good. I promise you, as an architect, you're going to have that same conversation. Now, if you're coming from banking, you probably know how to do some ROI modeling. You probably understand accounting and accounting-related things, and you can understand how to read a financial statement. Woohoo, you've got 30% of what you need. This is already 3 times more important than passing the Certified Solution Architect Professional. So you've got something great. And Addy, if you wanted us to work with you, I'm assuming you're going by Addy because most of my Addies that I have as students, of which I have about a half a dozen in today's world, and I'm very lucky to have a bunch of Addies and IOs. Not everybody gets that lucky, but I'm really lucky to have a bunch of wonderful Addies and IOs. And I'm going to tell you this, that, those skills are really useful. So what you need to do is learn the network and learn the data center. A program like ours would be perfect. If not, you can still do it, but make sure you learn the network and the data center by the methodologies I talked about now, going to Cisco, learning BGP, learning OSPF, learning eBGP, iBGP, learning NAT, learning VPNs, learning IP security, learning private lines, learning Ether channel, link aggregation groups, those kinds of things. Learning NAT, learning all the use cases for that, learning how firewalls work, IDS systems work, VPN concentrators work, Q and Q tagging, VLAN, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, those kind of protocols. Then learn firewalls, VPN concentrators, learn servers, server virtualization, containers, and storage, all types of storage, block, object storage, block, object file, learn DNS, security, and you will have a wonderful career. So Addy, you can have the best tech career. I came from healthcare and it was a beautiful career. Banking is a fantastic career and a fantastic place to start because it gives you some of that business acumen. And you know what? It takes a fair amount of emotional intelligence to be in banking as well. And it takes a relatively good amount of executive presence. So you are already advantaged. You are in a much better position than if someone just started with an engineering background. That banking carries over real well, just like my medical background carried really over. And that's how I went from no tech to lead architect. at the world's largest ISP within 6 months because I had that communication skills, business acumen from medicine. Of course, I did an MBA too, but those are the things. So you're going to be in great shape, Adi. Love hearing that. We'd love to work with you, obviously, but you're going to be very successful. So the next question, hi Mike from India, how long is the program? It is 16 weeks approximately if you have a tech background, and it is 6 to 8 months if you don't have a tech background. Doesn't matter to me whether you have a tech background or a non-tech background. We'll get you hired in the end. The question is just how long it takes. So Abhi Sadar, you're from India, you have basic troubleshooting knowledge in Linux, VMware, switching, total of 5 years experience. That's excellent. Now, I would love to help you. I can't motivate you to find a job. That motivation has to come within, meaning you have to want it. I can't make you want it. Now, if you want it, I can give it to you. I can tell you exactly what to study. You could be in our program and I can teach the courses. You can come to the classes. You can do all the homework, all the projects, turn them in with excellence, do the feedback I tell you, and you will get hired. Easily, happens every day. There's not a day that goes by where I don't hear from somebody that got hired, which is wonderful. But I can't motivate you to want to do it. So I ask my students when they want to sign up, why do you want to be a cloud architect? And when they say, I love the cloud, the technology is interesting, and I want to build a great career, I say yes. When they say, I hear it gets paid a lot, but I don't know, I'm not know anything about tech, but it gets paid a lot, it's not enough. If you want to get there, we could teach you real architectural design skills. We could teach you great knowledge of virtualization and great knowledge of containers and great knowledge of system design and presentation skills, and you will be wildly successful. But I can't tell you to want it. So I will tell you, if you do one of these kinds of jobs and you study and you do all the hard work, you'll never have a financial care again in your life as a rule. Finances will become a thing of the past. You'll have more money than you can think about. You'll get lots of respect. You'll have a great job. And it's not going to be like an engineering job where you're working hard. These architecture jobs are different. Engineering jobs, you're at the computer all day. You're being called 24 hours a day. Architecture jobs, you go meet with a client, you take your corporate credit card and you buy the client lunch. And then you ask some more questions, give a presentation, and you buy the client dinner and drinks on the company card. So there's a lot of that in architecture. So it is a lot easier of a job, which pays a lot more than engineering. But you got to want it. I will tell you, I work very hard. I work less hard as an architect than I did as an engineer, but there's not a day where I don't look stuff up, I don't learn things, and I love it. I mean, I love it. I can't believe people pay me to be an architect. They actually pay me to design systems. They actually pay me to play tech with tech. So, Abhi, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to help you get you hired, and I'd love to show you all the good things that come toward the end that are there, and they're there, and I told you about them. But as far as what it takes to be willing to do the studying, you have to want it. And that has to come from within you. I wish I could give it to you. I wish I could gift that, but I can't gift desire. I can only gift knowledge. Chris, if you can bring up the next one. Millicent, with your course, I will leave prepared with all of the things you mentioned earlier. Yes. By the way, you really appreciate what we're doing. Thank you so much. I felt like I had no choice, Millicent, and I had no choice. Like I said, I bought these 3 courses for my friend's kid. He, after 3 days, he configured S3 buckets and set up EC2 instances, but didn't know what they were. I was horrified by that. I felt so bad for the community. So that's why we do all our certification training free. That's why a course that I would normally charge $25,000 for, I charge $750 for in a special. I could easily charge $25,000 and it would still be a great deal. Look at it this way. I could have a $25,000 course that can add $100,000 to someone's salary every year for the rest of their life. That could be $30 million over the course of, that could be $3 million over 30 years of additional revenue. And I could easily charge $25,000 for that, but I don't. I keep it super cheap because I've got great students in India, great students in Africa, great students in America, people like me that came here from other countries, like my family. They couldn't afford expensive training. So I did the community college and worked 2 full-time jobs when I went to school. So that's why I like to provide this at a low cost so everybody can afford it. So you will definitely leave skilled, you will definitely leave hired, and if you'd like to, we'd love to work with you. Chris, you can bring in the next one. Unless I've been really fast and rapid firing answers today. Some days, I get easier questions to answer than others. While we're waiting for Chris to pop up the next question, if you can hit the like button, if you can comment or subscribe, if you're a member, if you could hit the bell button so that when we go online, you'll be notified. We have a lot of really, really cool things that are coming up very soon. And we'd love you to know about them, and you'll be informed about them if you hit the subscribe and hit the bell button. Chris, if you can bring up the next question. But before I bring up the next question, I'm going to let you know that on Friday, I am going to have my favorite recruiters here from IT Excel. I've been working with IT Excel for 20 years. They've gotten me hired in 2 of my 5 jobs. They've gotten more people that were my students hired over the past 2 decades than I can possibly imagine. So they're going to be here on Friday, and we're thrilled. Shavram, world's coolest meta. Someone might do needful. Please go through. I'm not completely sure I completely understood that, so apologies. I'm not completely sure. Chet Varma, hey Mike, as usual, awesome presentation. Thank you so much. Was wondering if it is possible with mostly remote to get a couple of gigs as a consultant architect with DevOps, SysOps. Well, DevOps and SysOps is going to make it a lot harder because architects are systems designers and DevOps are automated release people and SysOps are maintenance people. So Chat Varma, when it comes to getting your architect job, you need an architect brand. And DevOps is a different career and SysOps is a different career. So I want you to look at it like this. Let's say you wanted to go to a doctor to work on your brain, a brain surgeon. If that brain surgeon trained in feet and in hand surgery and not brain surgery, how confident would you be in that brain surgeon? You wouldn't. So you can easily get a great cloud architect job, build your own business, but you got to remember, SysOps and DevOps are different careers. So when I have certifications, and I've done them, I don't put certifications that don't help my career. If I wanted to be an architect and I listed a SysOps certification that's going to lower my salary by about 30%, and it's going to make me much less employable. The architect is a business executive. The SysOps person, the perception is the person with Coke bottle thick glasses that's sitting in a knock all day waiting to deal with trouble tickets. So in one case, you picture an executive, and another person, you picture someone that the companies are afraid to be seen. So look, there's great DevOps people and great SysOps people, and some of them are good communications. But what happens, you have to look at the perception. The perception as an architect is an executive. The perception as a SysOps person is a rough, around the edges, grumpy person. So yes, you can easily get remote jobs as a remote consulting architect, but the SysOps and the DevOps are going to hurt you. So if you've got SysOps and DevOps experience in the past, make sure it's clear that it's in the past. Automated software release cycles, mass deployment of infrastructure as code using Terraform as past experience, making that clear that that's your old life, that your new job is architecture. So minimize any references to SysOps and DevOps and maximize any references to business acumen, communication skills, or system design. And yes, you can get remote jobs, Chat Varma. I get remote job offers for Japan and Canada, all over the world every single day, and there's so much of it, so go get it. But part of it is building a cloud architect brand. Got lots of free videos on our YouTube channel on how to build a brand. How do you build a brand? You build a laser-like focus on exactly what you need to do. And then Mr. Conde will answer your question in 1 second. So focus. What makes an Olympic gymnast? Everything they do is gymnastics, strength and conditioning, or skills training. What makes a great cloud architect? Someone that focuses on cloud. Don't spend any time on scripting, architects design. Don't spend any time on SysOps. We don't maintain. Don't spend any time. That's a different career. So hope I answered your things. Yes, you can get hired, but your SysOps and DevOps will make it much harder for you to actually become an architect. So either remove that from your resume, hide it, or bury it in there somewhere along the line as past experience. I don't talk a lot about my medical practice, and SysOps is about as related to architecture as me practicing internal medicine is to architecture. So I would say try to get that out of there if you want to be there, and you will do wonderfully, wonderfully, wonderfully well. Alhad, the link to the course shows 9:99, and here's what you have to do. So great question. Click the course, and then you'll register, enter your username and password. It'll create an account for you. After that, you'll be given the opportunity to pay. It'll ask for a credit card, and there'll be something that says have a coupon. Where it says have a coupon, enter the coupon code, which is celebrate, all lowercase. It will drop the cost of that by 25%. If you're on one-time payment, which is the cheapest, it'll knock it down by 25%. If you're on a payment plan, it will deduct 25% off of every single payment, and you will do wonderfully well. If you've got any questions, please feel free to let us know. Millicent, we'll be super thrilled to work with you. Because what, Millicent? The next class is tomorrow. We're either going to be doing in the next class one of two things. Typically speaking, we cover architecture in these classes, but one of my students last night, late at night, sent a message to one of the people on my team, and he asked us to talk about putting a resume together when you have no experience. So on the class tomorrow, we may spend half of our time focusing on resumes and half of the time focusing on architecture or communicating technology. So we may make it a bonus architecture / resume building class tomorrow, because I've got lots of students who don't come from the tech background. We get them hired all the time anyway. So we'll have a big fun class for you. Look out for that welcome email that's going to come in about 45 minutes. It'll guide you to the classes, Slack, and all the cool stuff. Welcome, Millicent. You're going to have a great time and a great career. Chat Varma, if you're consulting your own company, it's easier to take more workload with maintenance roles where you have to be client facing. It's an interesting question. So I do have my own company. I will tell you this. I can earn far more with design roles than maintenance roles for me. Now, if you actually have your own company, you typically need to have the following. You need to have people like me that actually design the end-to-end systems. And then you typically need to have people that actually do the job. So for me, I have cloud engineers that do the work for me, and I have cloud architects when we do consulting that actually do the design. And I do it like anybody else. Cloud architect designs it, cloud engineer builds it. After it's built, turn it on to a maintenance crew, which is SysOps. So realistically speaking, the problem by trying to do everything yourself is you can't be great at everything. And if you try, what happens is you're not really good enough at anything. So I've tried it. Earlier in my career, I decided I was going to run my office without medical assistance. Why did I try to do this? I decided that I had to pay somebody to take someone's blood pressure and walk them into the room and ask the medical questions. And I discovered that half of the blood pressures were wrong from the people that I hired. And I discovered that half the medicines they answered were wrong. So I decided I had this brilliant idea. And then I had a billing company that would do the medical billing for me. And they made so many errors, and I could easily fix the errors. So I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk my patients into the room. I'm going to take their blood pressure, listen to their heart, their lungs, ask them the questions, diagnose them, treat them, and then do the billing on my own. Well, here's what happened. First, as I tried to collect the money on the way out of the office, the patients were like, a doctor collecting his own money? This is bad, which it was. It made me look like an incomplete and total idiot, even though I did it for my patients. Then, I got 9 months behind on the billing because I didn't have a chance to do the billing. So I'm seeing my patients, lots of revenue is supposed to come in, but the billing didn't get done. So the point is, you can't be great at everything. The chef does not cook the food, clean the dishes, deliver the food, and act as the cash register. And when you want to try to do that, that's there. So Chat Varma, if you're just starting your company, it may be a good place to start. Do it a little bit at all. But you're going to real quickly have to go find what role you want to do. Do you want to be the sales role, which is what I strongly suggest you do? The face of the company, the architect, you go learn how to design things for your customers. and then have people to help back it up long term. That is the way you will have a much, much, much more successful business. And that way you'll scale, because you can hire you to do the architecture work. And regarding this engineering stuff, this back-end stuff, you could hire $10 and $15 an hour people spread throughout the world to do that for you, because they can do it remotely and great. But what they can't do is architecture. So when you're starting to think about how do you build your career, think about what can't be replaced. What can't be replaced is you being customer facing. So that's easier, typically the recommended. Now, if you actually have SysOps and DevOps background, if you're a business owner, it's wonderful. Why is it wonderful? Because now you'll know what those people do. Just don't put it on your resume and don't let people know that's your background, and you'll be good to go. Chris, if you want to bring up the next question, it looks like there's a fair number of them. Go Cloud, is AZ1 Admin Associate an absolute essential for a cloud architect in Microsoft Azure? YRRM4X? No certification is necessary. I've got friends at Azure that have 0. I've got friends with prestigious roles at AWS and Google that have 0 cloud certifications. The admin associate isn't there. And I'm going to tell you this, an associate anything isn't going to get anybody hired. I'm also going to tell you that a professional anything isn't going to get anybody hired. But I will tell you this, that if you know the cloud and you understand the cloud, you can work on Azure, Oracle, Google, AWS, it doesn't matter. So get yourself one good cloud certification, the Azure Expert, the Google Professional Cloud Architect, or the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. One. Master architecture, which is not covered in any of these certifications. Then master the business piece, master the network, master the data center, and you will be a cloud architect on any cloud provider you want. Just focus on the certification. It's not an architect. So no certification is essential. Knowledge is essential, but certifications will make it much, much easier to get you an interview. Again, associate certifications do not mean a lot. Associate certifications signal that you took like an intro level course. So where we see people get in trouble is they do the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, and then they do the SysOps Associate, and then they do the DevOps Associate, and they've done the Cloud Practitioner, and they've done 4 certifications, but none of them are enough to signal the hiring manager that somebody knows something. Whereas if they just went in there and did the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and the Professional, now they've got the minimum level of like one good certification from the cloud. Now you need something from the network of the data center or security, and you usually are great. So I hope I answered your question there. It is definitely not required. Which actually brings us to Vishali's question, Chris, if you want to bring that up. And Vishali asked, how important are certifications if you have 20 years experience in tech? If you have 20 years experience in tech, for real experience, they don't mean a whole heck of a lot. So I wouldn't do any cloud certifications if I wasn't teaching them. One day I got bored. So we were, me and my team, we wrote a AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book. Great book. I told my team we're going to strip 10 pages out of it, pretend it's a Certified Solution Architect Associate book, and give it away for free. And we've given away 25,000 copies of that book for free. The link to the book is in the description below. For the associate, it's free. The professional one, I think you can buy it on my website for like $7.50. It's cheap. We just kept it cheap. We weren't trying to really make any money on people. We were trying to cover our cost. To put it into context, because I knew the cloud, I decided to take the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam. I bought the Cybex book. It was $20. I read it on a Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, I took the exam and passed it. It was no big deal. When you really understand the tech, the certifications are nothing. You realize exactly how basic they truly are. You know, when I did my CCNA 25 years ago, it was tough, and you had to know something for that. Now I look at the CCNA exam and say, that was it. So with 20 years experience in tech, you're good to go, but it has to be the right experience. If your experience is in software engineering and you want to move to architecture, yeah, you're going to need some certifications, because software and cloud are totally unrelated. So if by comparison, realistically speaking. If your experience was in the network and the data center, then you wouldn't need anything. But if your experience is in software or some other kind of non-architecture related field that's not network or data center, yeah, you're going to need some certification. But if it's network and a data center, you won't need it. So I hope I answered all of your questions there. Sona Kabir, you're an engineer with medium knowledge about AI systems, Python, and machine learning. Do I think this program is relative and a good pass for me? Okay, so Soa Kabir, if you were a nurse, I could get you through in 8 months and get you hired. And I've done it many, many times. If you're an engineer with knowledge of AI systems, great. Now the Python could be good if you wanted to be a cloud big data architect. But remember, architects are system designers, not actual configurers. So our program could get you to be a great cloud architect. And then if you chose to be a great cloud architect and then learn big data, or then be a cloud architect that focused on machine learning and AI, that could be a relatively good program from you. So you'd be a cloud architect with a specialty in machine learning and AI things. Again, when we talk about machine learning and AI, Soha, I typically like to know why. I love machine learning and AI, but I like to know why. So typically speaking, I would ask you to typically find a focus of it. Do you want to be a big data architect? Great. Do you want to be a data scientist with this machine learning and AI? An architect/scientist? What do you want to do with it? So realistically, for me, what I like to see with people when they're trying to build a great cloud computing career is the actual focus to know what they want to do. But yes, so at Kabir, we could easily get you there, but we'd have to do a lot of tooling for you. If you, for example, it says you've got Python, AI, and machine learning, which is great, but knowledge of PyTorch and TensorFlow and SageMaker kind of things, all important, are not necessarily how to design end-to-end systems. So we would teach you the system design, the way it works, the communication skills, and then now you've got something special. So now we would take that AI, the machine learning, and then we would teach you the cloud and how to design and the business elements of the cloud. Solving customer problems through technology, great solution. Improving business performance, again, great solution. All this kind of stuff. So this is what we're going to teach you how to do. And then when you can take that and you combine it with the Python machine learning, now you're in a different world. Now, for example, let's say you wanted to design an end-to-end solution that had big data. Not only can you design it, not only can you communicate, not only do you know how to optimize it and parse through the data, but we will teach you how to communicate it like an executive. So now, not only are you taking the outputs, but you can communicate the outputs to the CEO or the CFO or the CTO or the CIO, and you can put it into terms that they understand. So your recommendations could potentially save a business billions of dollars. And with that, you have an incredible, unstoppable, powerful career. So yes, we could easily work with you. But see what we're doing here? For us, it's not the technology. For us, it's about taking all the good stuff that you have and you like and focusing you on the thing where you can build the best career so you can be transformational. The reason architects get so paid well is we transform the business. If we build $1 billion technology solution that saves a customer $3 billion in expenses, we're a hero. We just made $2 billion for a company, and they're willing to pay you anything to do it, less than $2 billion. I'm exaggerating the point, but you get the concept. So yes, you will do great with us. If you're with us, you will be great. If not, don't neglect those other components of your career. That is the secret to being wildly, wildly successful. If you've got more questions, we'd love to answer it. Otherwise, hit the like button. If you're having fun, hit hashtag cloud hired in the chat box so we know you're paying attention. Hashtag cloud hired. I see Gabina already did it on their own, so thank you so much. If you can, hit the like button. And Chris, while people are putting hashtag cloud hired, so we know, if you can bring up the next question, Chris. M.Ek. Marithi again. What is an entry-level job that you recommend in the meantime while you're training that to keep you aligned with the architect brand? Marithi, I wish there were a whole lot of entry-level jobs. And here's kind of what happened. I want to kind of explain the macroeconomic factors and the microeconomic factors. So from a macroeconomic perspective, what's going on with the global economy? We've got this goofy coronavirus out there. It's keeping people from working at full productivity. It's keeping people from traveling. It's affecting supply chains. Organizational governments have dropped interest rates to zero, creating widespread inflation. There's an incredible amount of spending going on, and business performance is not so great. So what do businesses do when business performance is not great? They make people redundant. So businesses laid off a lot of people. Who did they lay off? They laid off the entry-level people. Why entry-level? The entry-level person needs, let's say you hire an entry-level person, Marithi. That entry-level person is going to need to be supervised and trained by a lot of people. And in a good economy, you've got people that can supervise your new people. But in a bad economy, you just don't. You don't have the people that can, literally speaking, go actually deal with exactly what you're trying to deal with, these expensive kind of things. So because you realistically don't have that, what you've got to do is you've got to take a better job. So network engineer is a good entry-level job. Cloud engineer is a good entry-level job. Solution architect is an entry-level job. All while they can help you get to your goals. And like I said, I've seen this. I've helped organization after organization after organization do this, and I'm certain you can be well. So Marithi, I would say get a cloud engineer job as an entry-level job. Or better yet, get a solution architect job. Marithi, give me a call. I think you are a pretty likable guy from my experience. You don't need that much. You've got a lot of emotional intelligence in our previous conversations. For you, leverage that emotional intelligence, leverage that likability factor that's yours. I also think that you're a performer in some way, shape, or form. So that kind of presence is kind of there. So those things are there. So I'd recommend trying to get an cloud engineer, a solution architect job, or a network engineering kind of job, or a network architect job if you know networking. And but I think you have a lot of really strong assets, Marithi. Those intangible factors. Leah Towie, do I have an opinion on seeking Oracle Cloud certification? I have an opinion of this. Learn the cloud. So learn how all the cloud works. I think the Oracle Cloud is a great cloud. I love Oracle Linux too. It's bit by bit identical copy of Red Hat for years. So it's an exceptionally, so Oracle makes great products. Oracle will make it in the cloud. Oracle's doing some free training out there right now. Why do vendors do training? Training, I want you to know what certification training is. It's kind of like sales training for the cloud provider. The more you like their stuff, the more certified you are, the more you recommend their stuff. So do I have an opinion seeking the cloud? The more about the cloud you know, the better. So if you know the network, Lee, and you know the data center, great. If you have all of these skills, network and data center skills, you have business acumen, executive presence, communication skills, emotional intelligence, and all that. If you have the presentation skills and you're used to presenting to in front of CEOs and executives, if you've got the sales skills to close billion-dollar deals, if you've got the business acumen to do these things, yes, I think Oracle Cloud certification is great. Now, if you're just trying to get hired as a cloud architect, first, I would say get one basic intro certification, the Google Professional Cloud Architect, the Azure Expert, or the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Get that. Then focus your next certification on your specialty. Security, like a CEH or a CISSP, networking, a Cisco Certified Network Professional, or an Aviatrix multi-cloud networking. Skip the basic intro to junior level certifications like the AWS Advanced Networking or AWS Advanced Security. They're not even intro to junior level. They will not do anything for your portfolio. Then next, focus on the skills that pay you the most. Your communication skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, all those kind of things. Then if you've got all that and you're already working and you want to diversify yourself, then I think the Oracle certification is good. Otherwise, be careful on the certifications. Here is why. A cloud guru loves to say certified people earn upwards of $10,000 to $12,000 more than others that aren't certified. And I would point you to that people that train emotional intelligence earn $30,000 more per year than those that don't, which is realistically speaking, on an average career, about 3 times more than just certifications would do. But we're not in an average career. Emotional intelligence for an average worker that earns about $50,000 goes up $30,000 for more emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence for a tech professional can make $100,000 or a $200,000 difference in your salary. So where do you want to invest your time, Lee? I would invest in business acumen, emotional intelligence, executive presence, communication skills. It will have a much bigger impact on your long-term salary, promotability, and career. But if you've got all that and you're good at it and you're like me and you're bored and you just want to do another cert, then I think the Oracle Cloud Cert is good. But you must know the cloud and you must know how to work with the Oracle Cloud no matter what. And if you train with us, you'll know how to work on any cloud. And if you train properly, meaning you learn the actual service, not the name of the service, like the network and the data center, and you know that a virtual machine is a virtual machine, you'll always be cloud hired, you'll always be employed, and you'll always be paid well. So I hope I answered your question. And if you'd like to go more depth in that question, I'll happily answer it. Chris, it looks like Ademi Thomas asked the question a couple of times. Hi, Mike, you said someone from a no tech background would need about 6 months. Okay, so the question you're asking is, Adi, so typically speaking, I say that someone with no tech background takes 6 to 8 months to get hired. The people that have no tech background still join my 16-week Cloud Architect Career Development Program. But here's what we do. We keep them in longer if they need it. So Adi, assuming you can get through in 16 weeks, great, you'd be done. And if you were ready and solid by the end of the 16 weeks, I personally call recruiters on behalf of my students and say, I've got a candidate for you. So the answer is yes. Now, having said all of that, if you needed more time, and if you've got no tech background whatsoever, you're probably going to need more than 4 months. You'd stay in the same program longer. And then you would attend more architecture calls. It would give you a chance to do more architectural designs. You'd be around and ask more questions. And you'd graduate 6 to 8 months from the same program, and we'd still get you hired in the end. Look, Adi, the reason we give people the flexibility to spend the 6 months or 8 months is if somebody has 40 hours a week, they can get through in 16 weeks, no problem. But if somebody doesn't have 40 hours a week to study and they've only got 15 or 20, some people can get through in 12 weeks. Some people take 18 weeks. Some people take 24 weeks. And you know what I care? All I care is that my students get hired in the end. It doesn't matter to me if I have to work for someone for 8 months or I have to work for someone for 3 weeks. As long as they get hired, it's a success story. So, you'll be in our program for 16 weeks. If you need 20, 24, it doesn't matter. If you're in our program and say, Mike, guess what happened? I'm looking at your name. I don't know where you're at. If you called me and said, I have to go to Legos for the next 6 months, and I'd say, great, go to Legos for the next 6 months. While you're in Legos, attend my classes remotely, do the best you can, and when you come back, we'll still work with you. We're still thrilled because all we care is that we get you hired. So yes, we'll probably get through in less than 8 months, but I like to set low expectations. I like to tell you it's going to take 8 months, and then if I get you hired in 6 months, you're thrilled. If I tell you 16 weeks and you're hired in 12 weeks, you're thrilled. What I don't want to do is say I'm going to get you hired in 4 months and then have it take you 6 months, because then you're going to be angry at me. That is not something I want. So 16 weeks, people with a tech background, pretty easy. 8 months, people without a tech background, again, pretty easy. So there are standards, but people come in faster or longer based upon them, and we don't care. As long as you get hired, we'll make you successful in the end. Looks like we've got some questions coming in. B3 Collector. Oh, I've seen you before, Bob. So good to see you again. You considering registering for one of our classes? Background sales manager, excellent. Experience in cybersecurity skills, excellent. Cloud architecture, excellent. Assisted in the design and implementation of large, complex, multi-product hardware and software solutions. Excellent working with a managed service provider. This is perfect. Cert, cloud practitioner. All right, we'd fix this. Cisco certified sales practitioner. Okay. You took the Comptia N Network Plus. Love talking to people. So in your case, we'd have to do we'd get you to go straight to the certified solution architect professional. We would capitalize on that sales background. That sales background and some of that architecture kind of work background that you have we would tune on your resume, and that would look really, really, really good. So realistically, really, really, really good. So you'd be a simple, easy one. For you, it's just a matter of making sure you know the network and the data center tech, which you know. We'd probably might do some more. I don't know how the dollar volume of sales you've actually done. I've seen you said a lot of channel marketing. If you're used to doing the CXO things and you're used to closing big direct sales directly, great. If you're more used to that business development of channel marketing, again, great. All those skills are going to be useful. You'd be someone that would be so easy for us to work with. You know, it's really funny. I tell people every time I get someone from sales, I'm like, you're going to get hired fast. In fact, I was going to take on an intern 6 months ago. The guy's name was Jack. He was in England. And he was going to do an internship. And the first thing I said to him is, I said, you're going to get hired. And then he said, Mike, I've got a free thing from AWS. Should I do it? I said, yes. So a year later, with no tech background, of course, he's working for AWS. Now, when we spoke the other day, he's like, look, didn't the certification help? And I said, what was the thing that I told you that was going to get you hired 2 years ago? He said, my sales background. I said, how many tech questions did Amazon ask you? He said, 2. I said, how many non-tech sales questions did they ask you? And he said, about 30. I said, now what do you think got you hired? He's like, my business skills, just like you told me, Mike. So there's there. Also, to let you know, our students get resume support. Realistically speaking in that. And so there's that. So for Be Through Bone Collector, you've done some data center deals of about 800,000. That is a fantastic start. We will teach you a little bit more sales skills because we're going to be dealing with products and services that are in the $100 million to $1 billion range. And we'll have to give you a little bit of extra business acumen and executive presence. But, you know, doing $1 billion, those kind of deals plus $1 million plus deals, you're already there. You already know what the CEOs care about versus the CFO versus the CIO. Just give you a little tuning, Bob. You are in a great perspective. Love to work with you. That would be an easy, easy, easy position. I'd say someone like you with that kind of background is probably 20 to 24 weeks because you were more on the business side than the tech side. So it's going to take you about 5-6 months to learn the tech, and the rest of it will tune the business. You'll be in great, great shape. Ronald McHarry, you have your certified solution architect looking for a cloud architect job. You're a pastor of 25 years. Thank you for everything that you've done. Law enforcement chaplain for 22. Currently in executive bodyguard security. You and I have a lot in common, more than you actually know. I've trained a lot of SWAT people. I'm a Krav Maga expert, and it's a world that we know. Trained lots of SWAT people in a lot of different things. And I'm very familiar with executive protection. So you built a lab, approved hacker, no job. So Ronald, here's the thing. You're going to have to do a couple of things. One is you're going to have to upgrade that certified solution architect to a certified solution architect professional. 2 is you're going to have to learn end-to-end system design. There's no part of the certifications that cover that. You need to learn that. Ronald, if you want to learn end-to-end system design, we can easily help you get there, but you've got to learn that end-to-end system design. Now, what I love about your background is the pastor means lots of communications. The chaplain means lots of communications. Doing bodyguard and security work, and I've done a lot of it, requires a lot. It requires you to be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome. It enables you also, you kind of have to have a level of executive presence to kind of do some of these roles. Because a lot of when we do our executive protection services, if we're going to go bodyguard a CEO that day, we've got to be there, we've got to look and walk and talk a certain way. We're not there as a rough around the edges bouncer. We are there as an executive protection. So you're already, looking and walking and talking in that role, a lot of it. So you've got that. You're dealing with law enforcement chaplains. These guys and girls are getting shot at. They're stressed. They have to do their job. There's times when somebody threatens an officer's life and they have to defend themselves and somebody dies and the officers are a wreck. I mean, I've spoken to officers that were borderline suicidal after defending their lives. They're like, oh my God, Mike, I fired my gun and now I'm thinking of killing myself. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? It's like, and they're like, it was a young person. I had no choice. So if you've been there, that requires that job such a degree of emotional intelligence. So You can get there. Upgrade Certified Solution Architect to Certified Solution Architect Professional. No big deal. That's easy. Learn the network and the data center. Learn end-to-end systems design. Remake your resume to show that what you need to do is take every one of those things that you've done and make it look relevant. Executive protection. There's elements that are included in there, Ronald. There are ways that you walk into a room. There are ways that you notice the room. You walk in. Is the scene safe? What's going on? Who are the potential threats? Where are these potential threats? Guess what that's called? Architecture. What does an architect do? We meet with a client. We ask some communication skills. We ask some questions. That's what we do. That's our job. After that, we come up with a solution. That is no different than me walking into a client. Let's say I've got to go on a religious mission to Peru with a client, because now half of the executive bodyguards that I know were doing this very recently. I've got to know the environment. I'm going to ask, what's the environment like? What's zip code or postal code? What's the crime like in that facility? What are the people like for this facility? All these kind of cool things. And then we design a bodyguarding plan. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's armed. Maybe it's unarmed. Maybe it's you plus 3 retired military people. Maybe our loadout involves an edged weapon. Maybe it involves a blunt object. Maybe it involves more. All of those decisions that go into that are architecture. So Ronald McCurry, we could easily get you there. We'd love to, or just make sure. Learn the network, learn the data center, learn BGP, learn OSPF, learn NAT, learn VLANs, 802.1U tagging, Q and Q tagging, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, BGP, IP addressing, routers, switches, firewalls, virtual machines, containers, load balancers, storage, and you will get a job, and you will get a great job. First, thank you for your service. Deep respect for all the things you've done. Pastor of 24 years. Wow. Thank you. Helping law enforcement people or any military people. People don't know the concept of the wolves, sheep, and sheepdog. People think of soldiers and police officers as big, scary people. They don't know the trauma that these people come from. They don't know what it's like when a soldier comes home and they've had to actually do certain things. They're a wreck. They don't know what it's like for the officer that had to defend someone or a patient that had to do something that they're going to regret for the rest of their life, even if they had no choice. So thank you for your service, Ronald. Greatly appreciate what you've done. Salim Saeed, you're a software engineer with 15 years experience in data integration, Oracle, and SAP ERPs. Wonderful. Want to switch to the career to the cloud. Okay, great. So I deal with this all of the time. All of the time. And B3 Collector, can't wait to work with you. So what do we do here, Saeed? First, you have to understand that what you've done is data integration and big data stuff, which is good. But you want a career in the cloud. So you've got multiple options. Option 1, do the same thing in the cloud as you're doing now with big data, and you'll be good to go. Option 2, become a data engineer in the cloud, and you can do exactly what you're doing right now. Option 3, become a data architect, which is people that focus on big data, and you can do that on and off the cloud. And guess what? The job is pretty much the same on the cloud and off the cloud. You could become a cloud architect, which focuses on cloud architecture. You could be a cloud architect like my good friend Praveen, who was a student of mine that's now instantly got a cloud architect job, who was also a big data architect before that, who was one of the best big data architects I've ever met. In fact, Praveen is such a good big data architect that I literally brought him here last Friday. And Chris from my team will put a link to that big data architect discussion below, because I think in the chat box, because I think it would be really good for you, Salim Saeed. I think it would be great for you because it'll show you what big data architects do on the cloud. You can do any of these things. So Saeed, I say, what is going to make you happy? Because I can take a nurse and make them a cloud architect, and I've done it many times. Because I could take a network engineer and make them a cloud architect many, many times. It's not an issue for me where you're at. The issue for me is what's going to fulfill you and make you happy. So any of those careers would be great. If you tell me what makes you happy and you want to fill it in, I will help you pick the careers, but I don't know what makes you happy. I don't know if you're like me and you like to get in front of cameras and presentations and talk to people. If so, you'll do great. That's what I love. That doesn't mean it's what you love. but that's what I love. I love designing things. I hate sitting behind a computer. It makes me nuts. But I value the computer. So tell me what you love and I'll help you get there. So that's what I would recommend. I'll add in the program, once you were done with the prescribed material and certs, would you get opportunities to work on some real life architecture solution projects? I'll add, you get real life solution architect projects, literally speaking, twice per week, every week at the beginning of the program. Our architecture projects are huge. Last Friday, what did we do in the architecture project? We worked, the students designed an architecture that had, for a company that had 200,000 remote access employees. I think they had 40,000 remote locations. I think they had 6,000 servers, just web servers, that had 128 cores and 4 terabytes of DRAM. We dealt with an extranet that had about 10,000 remote access partners that we dealt with. And of course, we had a big data lake and a machine learning environment that we created that included a relational database and NoSQL database, a data warehouse, and an object storage environment. And we had all the Python, Spark, and all the things in the data catalogs and all that's necessary to make that work. And we do this every week. You will always. And you will have 5 architectures in the program that are capstone projects that would be the kind of architectures that only people like me and really big enterprise architectures will work with. You'll be working on $500 million to $1 billion technology designs in our program, so that when you graduate our program, you have real expertise, as if you had 10 years experience here, not a new graduate, and you will know how to do it. So yes, you will have a chance to work on real live big projects. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, can you follow the course self-paced? Well, there's 3 components of the course. Well, listen, you can do most of the course self-paced, meaning all the videos, and you can turn in the assignments anytime you desire, and you're going to do really, really wonderful. So there's one. Next, we do have live classes, and you'll find out the live classes in an email. I'm checking to see. I haven't seen the email go out to you yet since you signed up, Melissa, but you'll get an email in about 45 minutes that will tell you the 2 times for the live classes. We prefer you to participate in these live classes. Why do we want you to participate? Because you can ask questions and it's an interactive process. Now, I record those classes in case you can't. So if you work full-time, don't worry. Try to pop in for the class, ask some questions, and then come back. Now, also, there's the lab component. And again, that can be done at any time you desire, because you're going to VPN in, you're going to be building clouds in our data center over the VPN, building your firewalls, building your containers, setting up your VMs, all remotely. So all of it can be done at your own pace, but we do like you to attend the 2 live classes whenever possible. On Tuesday, which is the first class, is at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and which is 2 p.m. UK time, which is 6:30 p.m. India Standard Time. And we do that for the reasons we've got lots and lots of students in India and lots of students in Europe and Africa as well, and Middle East, so we've got to cater to those time zones. The next one we have is on Friday at 12 p.m., which is 5 p.m. UK time, which is, I believe, 9:30 India Standard Time. And again, it covers all those. So, but you can do whatever you want at any time. Just please try to attend the classes when possible. But if you can't attend the class, don't worry about it. We record it and we'll post it after the class. So in either case, you won't miss a thing. We'll get you through. You'll be highly successful. And we're excited to work with you, Melissa. Work with you. Devendra, what a great name. My first manager who gave me a start in tech, his name was Devendra. He told me it means beautiful. So your question is, how can you prepare for AWS to get a job? Okay, it is the same answer that I'm going to respond to almost everybody that answers this question. Certification is not going to get you hired, not one bit. The only thing that it may do is actually get you an interview. So how do you get hired? You've got 2 options. I will give you the full process if you attend our free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. The next one is on Thursday. We had one this morning. So what is necessary? First thing we have to do is make sure you learn the network and the data center, because cloud architects take things from the network and the data center to the actual cloud. Well, actually, you didn't tell me what kind of job you actually wanted, Devendra. So tell me what kind of job you want, and then I'll actually answer this, because I don't want to assume it's an architect until proven otherwise. So if you let me know, then I can answer that for you. But I don't exactly know what job you're actually looking for. Because there's a lot of different kinds of jobs. And the preparation to be a cloud engineer is going to be exactly the opposite as the preparation to be a cloud architect, which is also, okay, so the vendor said you're looking to be a cloud engineer. Okay, well, that gives us some more things. Now, Devendra, I'm going to tell you, it's probably harder for you to become a cloud engineer than an architect, but let's give you that because that's what you absolutely love. So you'd like to be a cloud engineer. Now, a cloud engineer is a builder, where the cloud architect is a designer. So where cloud architects don't configure and don't code, cloud engineers do, and they do a lot of it. So if you want to be a cloud engineer, these are what you're going to have to learn. First, you're going to have to get a good knowledge of the network and data center, just like a cloud architect. Now, for the engineer, you're going to have to get hands-on with Linux. And you're going to have to be really good with Linux, and you're going to have to get really hands-on with Linux. So, what do I mean by hands-on with Linux? You're going to have to get used to building Linux everything, configuring VPN, configuring web servers, configuring databases, literally all of it, administering Linux. You're going to have to know this. You're also, as a cloud engineer, going to have to know Python. You're going to have to know Node.js. You're going to have to get useful working with YAML templates. As a cloud engineer, you should know Kubernetes in depth. You should be used to building containers in depth. You should be used to Python scripting and automating things in depth. As a cloud engineer, not an architect, but as an engineer, you're going to have to be very, very, very hands-on with the CLI. You're going to have to be very hands-on with the management console, and you're going to have to be very, very hands-on with the API. That's to be a cloud engineer, and you can do that. Now, to be a cloud architect, it's a completely different skill set. To be a cloud architect Avenger, here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to learn the network and the data center. And from the network, we're talking about BGP, we're talking about OSPF, intermediate systems to intermediate systems. We're talking about NAT, we're talking about VLANs, we're talking about VLAN tagging, Q&Q tagging, 802.1q tagging, we're talking about QoS, rate limiting, IPsec, as well as private lines. Again, cloud engineers should know these things, but the cloud architect needs to know these deeper. Now, next on that list, now that we got past those four things, what's next on the list? Well, now we've got to cover the data center technologies, meaning what are they, how do they work, and what do they do? So on that list includes the following. It includes servers and containers. Now, you're not going to build them, you're going to design them, but you have to know how they work. Now, again, we architects are designers, not builders. So there's no coding for us. There's no configuration for us. But you need to understand how DNS works. Again, you need that as a cloud engineer, but you really do as an architect. You need to understand load balancers, firewalls, VPN, proxy servers. Now, for the architect, it's about designing. For the engineer, it's about building. Now, this part is exclusive to the architect. You must become an expert at presenting. You must develop excellent soft skills, excellent communication skills, excellent written documentation skills. You must learn what the CEO cares about versus the CFO versus the CTO versus the CIO. And it's all about presentation documentation skills. And as the architect, you need to learn business skills so you can present the information and convince the customer to go buy that $200 million technology solution. So this is your business acumen. So now you know the difference between a cloud architect and a cloud engineer. Quite frankly, it's easier for me to create a cloud architect, and all in all, over their career, they'll earn at least double the cloud engineer. Easier for me to get someone to be a cloud architect than a cloud engineer in most cases, but it's a lot less to learn, and it's easier things to learn, and it's a more fun job where you work half the hours of the engineer, and typically speaking, get paid twice as much. But there are people that love engineering. And if you love engineering, do engineering. And I got to tell you, people like me, the architects, we would be done without the engineers. I may design it, but if it's not built, it's just PowerPointware. So cloud engineers are really important people. You're here for cloud computing career advice, and I want you to be honest and know the cloud engineer is going to be the hardest working person in the room. The cloud architect is going to work less hard. The cloud architect is going to earn more to do a lot less work. It takes a lot more leadership skills to learn how to be a cloud architect, and a lot more technical skills to be a cloud engineer. Be what you want. They're both great careers. Excellent careers. You'll be fulfilled in either, but do the one that makes you happy. So if you're having fun, if you can hit the like button and type #CloudHire, we try to do as much free content and go out there to kind of give you guys advice and guidance, and we do it for this reason. Every day, the average cloud architect earns $600 a day. A good one earns more than double that. So every day that you're training and it's not going in the direction you want, it's costing you a small fortune. We are here for you. That's why we come on as often as we can. And on Friday, I'm even going to have some executive recruiters. And yes, you can give them your resume. And then they'd love to take them for you. And they're very well connected. They've got 20 recruiters on their team. They have a national staffing firm. So that's why we do what we do. We're trying to give you guys the kind of opportunities that most people never get in their life. We love what we do. We love every last minute of it, every last second of it. I got to tell you that moving into tech when I left medicine, when I did it 25 years ago, was the best decision I ever made. And I want you guys to all have the same wonderful careers as me. So that's why I do this. So please feel free to ask any questions you want. Did I actually answer all the questions? Because that almost never happens. So if you've got any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, if we've actually answered everybody's questions, which has almost never happened, we'll give you about 2 more minutes to ask questions. Otherwise, we'll come back on Wednesday if you've got any other questions. But in any case, super thrilled to connect with you. The chance to go out there and talk to you guys and try and give you things to maybe save you some time getting to your goals. Melissa said, is the exam included? We provide the training for the Certified Solution Architect Professional, but we're not a certifying body. We are a Get Cloud Hired body, and we have no ties to the actual registration center. So students pay like the Pearsons for their own exams. We're not about certification. We're getting you hired, but we will teach you CISSP level security knowledge, CCNP level network knowledge, and you will be trained for the Certified Solution Architect Professional, which in our mind is the entry-level certification for the cloud. Devendra, can you move IPs from one to another? You got to remember, what is an elastic IP? It is an AWS owned IP. So there's all kinds of idiosyncrasies and play with that. If you're one of our students, we can talk you all the ways to set up your IP addressing in your schemes. That's not really a career question right now. That's a technical question. And since this is 100% focused on careers, realistically speaking, we're going to go to the next career question. Surrender. As a senior engineer, you felt you could have block where no one. As a senior engineer, you feel like you're at a block where no one even calls you after finishing. Well, no one's going to call at all based upon a Certified Solution Architect Professional certification. Certifications do not get people hired. What gets people hired is having the right resume and having the right skill set. I don't know what's on your resume, Surrender. It's very easy for me to get someone with no tech background hired, but it takes a lot of work to really build the person's brand and build their resume and get everything looking the way it's supposed to be. Having said all of that, so there's all of that. Getting you there, it's no big deal, but you've got to make your resume look good. And I don't know what's on your resume. Your resume, and I don't know what a senior systems engineer is, because the senior systems engineer could be an architect. Like Cisco would have senior systems engineer that are going to go with clients. They're going to ask the business questions to the client, and then they're going to design a solution, and they're never going to configure it. So that could be a systems engineer. And those people typically get called back very quickly. The systems engineer could also be a back-end person that's doing things. So I don't really know what your background is, Surrender. And if you want to tell us, we can help you. But I don't know what your background is to first give you that guidance. And I will tell you this, just getting a Certified Solution Architect Professional exam will not get anyone hired. Not at all. And you know what? It's not going to get anybody any phone calls either. It's building the portfolio of the architect. It has to, your resume has to talk about end-to-end system design. It has to show, how you can transform a business. It's got to show something about your business acumen. It's got to show some leadership things in there. It's got to show the network and the data center. That's what has to be on your resume. That's why I get 3 offers a day. And that's why my students get called a lot, because we have a portfolio that looks like a brand. That's why we keep talking about brand. That's why we keep saying don't get DevOps and SysOps certifications, because it's going to dilute your brand. And you know what? You may have to change your resume. For example, I did a resume consult with someone. He said, I don't understand why I don't get architecture jobs. And the first thing that he had on there was Python. The next thing that he had on there was Terraform. The next thing that he had on there was SysOps. The next thing that he had on there is, realistically, it was all unrelated to architecture. So I haven't seen your resume, but it's very easy to get reached out to, but you've got to have a portfolio. So maybe look at mine. Look at my LinkedIn profile and try and model yours off of it, assuming it's real. Then you'll be in good shape. What was the last project I was on for a business? Oh my God, I can't even think of it. So I designed basically I think the second or third world's largest bank, their voice, data, and video network. I consulted to about 7 out of the 10 world's largest internet service providers, and to optimize their routing. I consulted on most of the voice, data, and video programs, these fiber to the home projects that are actually out there. I had consulted to some of the cloud providers on how to design their clouds. Over the last 2 decades, I provided information to multiple governments on how to optimize their healthcare system through technology. Pretty much, what haven't I done? So I'd say the last couple of things that I consulted with, I helped consult on a blockchain data center about 2 years ago that included about 2,000 Linux machines that were fully populated with ASICs that were running SHA-256 calculations. I think we had about 5 petahashes worth of capacity at the time doing that, and had about 600 GPUs running the Dagger Hashimoto algorithm. I had helped set that up for someone that was involved in that. That was a recent project. I had consulted to pretty much every large healthcare organization, and I even did a fun one. The last little fun volunteer project that I did for someone was a yoga school that was doing a lot of things. We actually built them their own cloud and started streaming live video, and it was a mini project, but you know what? Not many yoga studios are running OpenStack Ansible clouds and have that much stuff going on. So it was kind of cool. So lots and lots of projects. Typically internet service providers for me, big banks or big healthcare systems are typically the people that need somebody like me. Mark. Oh my God, great information and for networking and data centers. Yes, Mark, network and the data center is the 2 main keys. And yes, I do say that a lot, because that is really the thing that nobody knows. And that is the thing that everybody needs to get hired. So making sure that you can understand the difference from each gateway. Okay, so you're going back into technical things. We're going back into names, Mark. Names are irrelevant. A gateway just means a router. That's it. Gateway means router. And because of this, people are using these terms way out of context. So AWS has taken that term. So if it's an internet gateway, it just means it's an internet router. A default gateway means a router that basically you send your traffic to if you don't know where it's going to go. So, now we're talking about, different kinds of gateways. But realistically speaking, a gateway is just there. Which one are you going to use for security? None of it. You're going to use firewalls and IDS, IPS systems and access control lists and host-based firewalls and disabling unnecessary services. Like I said, it's all going into that end-to-end system design, that big design kind of stuff that we're talking about. So hope I answered your question there, Mark. Devendra, you're working as a Linux and IBM AX developer. I'm sorry, systems admin. Okay. And now you want to go in the field of cloud, but the interview keeps asking me, why do you switch your career? What do you answer? Well, why do you want to go to the cloud, Devendra? Don't lie. When people lie on interviews, it kills the interview. What do hiring managers care about? I'm going to tell you right now. Number 1, technical competency. Number 2, can they trust you? So be honest about it. Number 3, do you know what you know? Do you know what you don't know? Numbers 4 and 5, are you energetic and enthusiastic? Number 6, are you emotionally intelligent? Number 7, can you be a team player? And number 8, will you go above and beyond? So why do you want to be on the cloud? Well, personally, if the answer is because I love the cloud, I love the way the cloud can change the future. That's a good answer. If I like what I do, but right now I'm only on here and I want to take a bigger position where I can make a big impact to business by leveraging technology to improve business performance, that's another good answer. The answer is, I've done this. I love the administration side, but I've learned as much as I can, and now I want to design systems. Again, that is also fine. But the real key is you just don't say, I'm doing a career because I want more money, because people won't respect that, even though that's why we go to work. Let's face it, people go to work to be paid. If it was fun, you'd have to pay to go. I find it fun to design architectures, but that's just me. I'm kind of a tech cuckoo. I love tech. I mean, I love it, or I wouldn't be here. Otherwise, I would do something else. So give them a real answer. Show them something authentic. Show them why they like you. Show them how you can help them, and you'll get hired every time. I want you to think about it this way. Well, I hate to talk about shoes, but my wife's a shoe addict. She loves them. There's between 300 and 500 pairs of shoes around the house, and every day she brings in 2 bags full of them, and I don't know where we're going to put them. Now, here's the thing. She loves shoes. And I asked her, how do you make your buying decisions? And she says, I buy what I like. So that's the thing. So if you do what you like and you're positive, the customer, the hiring manager is going to feel you that you like it, and they're going to feel the authenticity in you. You can't fake authenticity. When people know that you like what you do and you want to do it and your heart and mind is going to do it, they want you on your team, because if you like what you're doing, you're going to be great at it. So show them how you can help them. Show them why that matters to you, and you'll get hired. So don't make it up. Make it about why you want to be there. Go be a solution, and you're going to do great. One more question. Love questions, Devendra, especially because Devendra was the first guy that actually hired me, although he chose to use his American name, Dave. So that name means a lot to me. So is it okay to say to the interview that you're a fresher? I would not. So here's the problem as a fresher. As a fresher, meaning you're fresh out of school, you don't have a lot of experience. So people assume you don't know a lot. Now, that's the perception you've got to overcome. So the key for you, Devendra, is first, if fresher knowledge is 2 out of 10, I need you to know 6 out of 10. I need you to be better than the rest. Far better. How are you going to do that? You're going to go learn the things we talked about. 2, I need you to be more likable than the rest. 3, because you are a fresher and people assume freshers don't know anything. First, you need to know something. And 2, show your attitude is so good. Show your energy, enthusiasm, and passion. See, I'm not a fresher. I'm almost 50 years old. I have wisdom and experience, which makes me very distinguished. Great for an architect. I just hired a 25-year-old, Jesse, on my team. Why did I hire Jesse? Jesse is smart. He's a fireball. He's full of energy, and he always knows what to do. Why did I hire him? Because he's capable, and he's energetic, and he's enthusiastic and passionate. And when we're finished this, for the next 3 hours, he's going to be learning a search engine optimization from me. Why? Because he's motivated. So when you're new, don't call yourself a fresher. They already know. Let them know that you are energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate, and you just love this tech. And you're going to use that energy, enthusiasm, and passion to be the best employee they ever had. You'll get hired. That's what you do. So don't let them know you're young. They already see it. Remind them you're wise beyond your years. Show them that because you are young, you've got the energy and the oomph to learn. Don't come up with the perception that you're the kid that's glued to your phone. Show them that you are the solution to their problems, and they will love you, and use that energy, attitude, and enthusiasm that comes with being young and the speed of learning to differentiate yourself as a young fireball. That's what I do for young people. We have to differentiate them because they're the hardest to get hired. So be that young fireball, and you will do great. B3 collector, I love this one. What about being too old? I get asked this all the time. I actually made a video about age. And Chris, you can actually put that. I actually think being 50 or 55 is easiest. I've got a student in my program, Derek. He's approaching that 60-year-old age, or he may be older than 60. He is one of my fastest studying students forever. He actually brought me to tears on a Friday call. In fact, I ended up making a social media call because he brought me to tears of joy. Derek on this call proceeds to say that he was thinking about, he was dreaming about a cloud architecture, and he was doing the BGP policy in his head. He picked it up so fast. I was in tears because I know that he's going to not be my student for much longer. I'm going to be calling Christina Mariano saying, Christina, Derek needs to get hired. He's ready. And that makes me super happy. And I'm moved by it even today. But the point is there's not too old. There's not too young. There's playing the game. When we're older, we've got wisdom, communication skills, executive presence, and we leverage that. When we're young, we've got energy. It's not about your age. It's a matter of playing to your strengths. Always play your game, not someone else's. You can win at your game. It's kind of like having an argument with a crazy person. You can't win because you can't, if you're not crazy, you can't have a crazy argument in your head. You can't think it through. So you can't win against someone that's crazy when you're not crazy. So, looking 60, good. Looking 45 by being 60, better. The more vibrant you look, the better. But age means wisdom. Wisdom is good. Don't worry about it. I'm not young either. Any other questions for me? Give you guys 2 more minutes. Otherwise, we'll finish up for the day and we will tell you about lots of cool stuff. So Friday, the recruiters are coming in. We are going to have a lot of really exciting YouTube videos for you. If you can hit #CloudHired and smash that like button if you're having a good time. Recruiters are coming on Friday. Wednesday, I'll be here in case you guys have any questions. On Thursday, we're going to have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, which is always a good time for everyone. If you sign up and hit the bell within the next month, we're going to do some networking training. We're probably going to do a free CCNA course. There's been lots and lots of requests. And anything we do is about helping you get cloud architect hired. So I'll see if there's any last minute questions coming in. If there are, we're thrilled to answer them. If there are not, anything we can do. So going to let you know we have a new podcast coming real soon. We're pretty excited about it. Just excited in any way. So Devendra's next question. Thanks, sir. Do you also need to learn DevOps tool Python for cloud or getting a job? Well, Devendra, it depends on what job. If you want to be a cloud architect, DevOps is not part of the job. It's a totally different career. And Python is not part of the job as a developer. There is no coding as an architect. No. For a cloud engineer, Python is absolutely critical and DevOps will not hurt. But for a cloud architect, they are not relevant skills. So it's really, really a matter of making sure you learn the right skills for your job. And that's why we're doing this, because I get people that want to be architects. They learn DevOps, they learn SysOps, they learn Python, they learn Terraform, and have no idea how to be an architect. Likewise, an architect like me has no idea how to be a cloud engineer because I haven't been one. And that's why I teach architecture. Now, we have lots of courses coming, but I don't make courses that I've never done. For example, we have a cloud networking course coming. It's going to have 50 years networking experience plus 3 CCIEs. That's what goes into networking. We have a DevOps course coming. I won't be teaching it. It'll be taught by a great DevOps engineer, my good friend Sandeep Das in India. I will do what I do. How to get hired, how to interview, how to impress the hiring manager, what hiring managers care about. So I expect that, what we do is we have a philosophy. We teach what we're experts on. I wish everybody else was. I wish we could say, don't teach courses that you don't know. But, that's our philosophy. So we've got lots of cool, exciting things coming for you. This week, we have a couple of videos on Linux. One on Linux architecture for the cloud architects of amongst you. One on Linux commands, which is really good if you want to be a cloud engineer. And if you're a cloud architect, in this kind of great environment, these are still good things. For B3 Bone Collector, again, JSON is needed for a cloud engineer, but not needed for a cloud architect, because cloud architects don't make IAM policies. So JSON, again, not a cloud architect skill, but a cloud engineer skill. So B3 Collector, Devendra, that's why this is so important. You must actually know the job that you want to prepare for. Prepare for the job you want, and you'll go get it. So if there's no other questions, we'll end now. But if If there is, actually, if we can finish up by typing cloud hired in the chat box, I will kick it off and do it myself. B3 collector JSON is on a test, but there's a huge difference in what it actually takes to pass an exam versus getting hired. I know absolutely zero of JSON, and it was quite simple for me to pass any of these tests. For a real architect like me, I just give up on a question or two that's related to that. You get enough of them, you can skip a couple, it's no big deal. Alhad, when are we going to have a cloud engineer program? I don't know. It will happen because there are people that want to be cloud engineers, but I have to find the right person to build it for us, with us. It's pretty important for me to have the right person. I'm not a cloud engineer, so I can't teach it. I'm not going to be like a certification provider and just teach everything because I have a webcam. I have to only teach things where I know I can get you hired. Do I want to have a cloud engineering program? The answer is great. Am I speaking to 2 or 3 people that could do it? The answer is yes. But I need to make sure that they're the right people because, when we do something, we do it. And when we tell somebody we're going to get them hired, we're going to get them hired. And as for us, for the engineers, it's about finding someone that's really, really, really great. And I'm still trying to find that really great cloud engineer. I know a couple of really great cloud engineers, but they're too busy working for the cloud providers or big banks to want to do it. So I'm trying to find exactly that perfect one. And once I find it, we'll have a cloud engineering program too. Mark, super excited. You'll have the podcast. It's coming, and it's coming really, really soon. I'm Devendra. We're super happy that we gave you the knowledge to know what's the difference between them. That's why we do that. Yeah, Mark, for the 1 or 2 questions on the exam, I say just, don't even worry about it. The 1 or 2 questions on the exam on JSON were real simple anyway, but, staying with the true tone of an architect, I'm just, I'm not exactly Mr. I'm not a coder because I'm an architect. And, I know lots of architects and none of us have ever coded. Some have desired to learn for fun, but, where you take your architecture career is up to you. But I got to tell you, being a cloud architect, a network architect, an enterprise architect, even a business architect, and I've been them all, I can't think of a better career. I can't think of anything that I enjoy more. I can't think of anything that's ever taken better care of my family. So your question, the class literally starts tomorrow morning. So what happens is, as soon as someone purchases the course, it unlocks our training content. So you could start tomorrow or you could start Friday. It really doesn't matter. People, as soon as they sign up, instantly the content is open. And then tomorrow is the first next class that we're going to have. And we're going to have some fun in that class tomorrow. We'll be in that class. We'll be doing cool architectures, maybe some resume building tomorrow. We're going to have a ball. It's going to be exciting and fun. Then after we do that fun time, you'll go back to doing homework assignments. You'll turn in some things. We'll give you feedback on them. The next class is on Friday. So you are going to be learning every single day, getting feedback along the way. You'll build a plan. We'll give you advice on your plan. You'll build your resume following our template. We'll give you advice on the resume and realistically say, you will do great. Now, you don't have to start tomorrow or Friday because it's a rolling kind of admission. But, next class is tomorrow. Students do great. And we would love, love, love to work with you. Nothing is required from you guys to work with us because we give you access to our servers. So all that's necessary is a PC with a web browser. You'll be using all of our servers. All of our servers have 24 cores at least. They all have at least 128 gigs of RAM, and everyone has NVMe drives. So there's nothing to purchase. It's all one-stop shop in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So if there's any on the classes themselves, each class session is 3 hours approximately. Sometimes I get a little greedy and I keep talking because we keep having fun. Sometimes the students run these classes a little long. The reality is 90% of the time they're 3 hours. Not everybody can attend every class, so we record every class. Students that work full-time, they attend part of the class, pop in, ask some questions, and then watch the replay. We don't care. Our students do great. You give people the right content, the right training, you build the right team, provide the right inspiration, provide all the best people to work to each other, and amazing things can happen. Just think of the power of the community. That's why we do exactly what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and that's why we love doing what we do just so much. So thank you all for your time today. Cloud Hired, I appreciate every person that's been here. Love the opportunity to be able to communicate with you. If you guys have any questions for us, I'm even going to put our office's phone number here. 889. So you've got the number of how to reach us. Chris from my team will drop that link to our program along with our special sale, the 25% off discount code right now. And then if you guys need anything, we're here for you. We'll be back on Wednesday, everyone. And we are honored and privileged just to speak to you. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I love this community. I love being an architect. It is the best thing I've ever done. I left medicine to join my architecture career. I haven't looked back, and it has been so good. So build that architecture career of your dreams. Do what you love. Build something that you can be happy with, that by the end of the day, when you get done the day, you can be happy. So, yeah, okay. Last question apparently is from Mark. Class is live, so you can ask questions. Absolutely. We're not Udemy. We don't just assume you're going to learn by watching a video, and we are not PowerPoint slides with voiceover. We're training. We're professional. It's going to feel just like this. So in between classes, you ask questions on Slack, and you'll get a response fast. And twice per week, you're in a live Zoom meeting, answer questions. So we will get you to your goals very fast and very comprehensively. Thank you all for your time. Any questions, you know how to reach us. You've got our phone number to call us. It looks like some people are already calling us, and I will take their calls one by one, and we will return everybody's call. Thank you so much, and I look very forward to speaking to you all very soon. Take care, everybody.